Folks, welcome to an all new So Bad It's Good. This is your pal Ryan, and I think you'll be hearing this on Sunday. Listen, if you predicted that I would get sick on my trip to New York, you win something. I don't know what you win, but you win something because that is what happened. Obviously, that is what happened. It was going good. This year, I've had so many sinus issues. Yeah, let's start off strong. Let's talk about my sinuses. I read some comment on my Beverly Hills recap, which was I did a Vanderpump episode from the Patreon the next day to kind of celebrate the legend, the legacy of Vanderpump Rules now that the OGs have been fired or let go. Which I'm sure we'll talk more about this week. I'm going to talk to Sophie later on today for the Pop Culture Roundup tomorrow, so I can't wait to get her thoughts about all of this. But I was planning on doing the Salt Lake recap and having that out like Thursday or Friday. I don't even know, you guys. And then I knew I was feeling bad. So what happens, I've had like really bad sinus issues all year. It just kind of just exploded. And I've been to doctors, sorry, and I have an ENT now. And what happened, I guess there's a blockage up in my sinus area. So even when I take like nose sprays or medicines that they will prescribe me, it's not very efficient because there's such a blockage in here of just impacted things. Just, I can't even imagine all the bullshit that's impacted in my sinuses. So every time I travel or something kind of exacerbates the problem from what they tell me. And so it's like real hit or miss if I'll get sick if I travel. And unfortunately, this year I've traveled a lot and it really takes me out. And, usually I can work through it. I can still work even if I don't feel good. I mean, that's just every day, right? But I knew things were not great around Thanksgiving. Like I was starting to feel bad, throat was feeling sore. And that's usually from the drainage. Yeah, this is a sexy podcast. We're talking about sinus drainage. So I knew everything was bad. And it's been hell. So I'm getting this sinus surgery. What's it called? It's called the endoscopic sinus surgery. And we were supposed to do that in November, and the dates couldn't work just because I was going to have to fly for Thanksgiving, and then I'm taking my dad to see the Eagles in December. So allegedly, this is happening the first week of January, where they're going to clear out all the sinus cavities, and it's going to hopefully change a lot because they said the way it's impacted right now is that I'll get sick at least once a month. And it just sucks because I have no desire to work, when I can push through it to a degree, but it's just not fun for me because at the end of the day, podcasting is super fun for me. Like I know it can be tedious just in the doing of it and the editing and the putting it out. But for the most part, I really enjoy and love doing this. So it always makes me feel really shitty when I can't do it. So I don't feel at my best. But listen, we had an amazing episode of Salt Lake City this past week, and I'm going to be damned if I'm not going to recap that episode of Salt Lake City for the Mary Cosby scene with Robert Jr. alone. But there was a complete bizarre supersized episode before then, before we landed on that very real, very emotional scene. And there are so many things just happening, obviously, in the Bravo universe. But, Beverly Hills doing really good. Salt Lake City, it's one of those things I say every week. I cannot believe that more people are not watching this show. I think it's truly, they've just hit upon something special where everybody in that cast, even the first season people, maybe besides Maylee, no offense to Maylee, she just isn't really there that much. She had one line in this episode. I don't think she was even in the episode before that. But everybody brings something unique. It really is. I mean, I was about to say it's a really good team, but, usually teams don't hate each other. I mean, you could say the Chicago Bulls, and I know I'm not a sports guy, but I watched the documentary The Last Dance a while back, and they were a team that really worked well with each other, but there was a lot of egos on that team. Scottie Pippen, Michael Jordan went through various ups and downs, Dennis Rodman through. There was a lot of different variables in that, and I think Salt Lake City is the same, except that truly it is just this game every week of who is going, like every conversation is going to be relayed back to the person that they're talking about at some point. So you just got to see which side the cast member is on that week. This week, it's really interesting because Bronwyn, who I think is having one of the best what a great rookie. A great rookie out of Salt Lake, just having a fabulous season. But this week it wasn't. It's not like she did bad, but she did choose to take her foot off the gas in terms of the Lisa Barlow relationship of it all. She kind of slightly went against Whitney, and not really went against, but relayed what Whitney and Angie were saying about Lisa Barlow and a little bit about Meredith. So Bronwyn was kind of almost playing Lisa Barlow's side a little bit, which I thought was fascinating. But yeah, I think this is a fantastic episode. I think there's so many silly moments, which then makes that last scene with Robert Jr. and Mary that much more. It just has so much gravity to it. It has so much gravity, and that's why I want to point out with Salt Lake, hence because we're all laughing at this show, obviously, but then they still managed to eke out one really big emotional scene per episode. Was it last week or the week before we had Angie Katsunavis talking to her dad about her mom's passing, which I thought was very beautiful. So they'll have this really insanely beautiful or powerful or tragic scene that kind of makes all that insanity, it gives it this emotional weight and gravitas that I don't think a lot of other housewives can really pull off. And like I said on the Beverly Hills recap, housewives, I never thought I would use Mary Cosby as an example of what to look to do, but really it's about being honest about what's going on in your life, being honest. And I was talking to Rebecca the other day because we were talking about Jen Shah, and she was like, well, Jen Shah, you had that whole thing, that whole her going to prison thing and that storyline. Yeah, but Jen Shah never told the truth. Jen Shah never told the truth on this show. So it was always this weird mystery. It still is a mystery. She still never is fully accepted full responsibility. There's always like the but this, but that. And Mary Cosby and her son, Robert Jr., having the bravery. Now, I will talk about how this wasn't the first time Mary has heard this about her son. This is an ongoing actual storyline in their real lives, but it's the first time that they've really put it on camera, and Robert Jr. was allowing of the cameras to be there when he talked about what he was going through. But that's what it takes to be a housewife. I mean, I think that's why Doute is potentially going to have a very powerful season on Beverly Hills, because we're finally getting wind of what was actually going on in her and single PK. I'm single PK, ladies. Watch out. It's me, PK. You want to see me with my blouse off? It's single PK. Watch out, women. PK is on the loose. But I think when you share this horrible nature of what is happening in your life, I think the audience immediately gravitates towards you. We empathize with you, unless you're a sociopath. Shout out Jax Taylor. And I think it wins over a lot of viewers watching these things. And Jen Shah never did that, right? If Jen Shah, and it looks like when she's out of prison, eventually she will come back to Salt Lake. I've tried to make peace. I've tried to hold space with that fact, but that will happen eventually. And man, I hope she comes for Heather. I'm telling you, really, Heather Gay is turning out to me, I think, the biggest, shadiest character on Salt Lake completely. And she just hides it under one-liners that have gotten less funny as each season goes on. And I think she hit her pinnacle in the finale, obviously, of last season with the receipts proof time. Did you ever hear that? Receipts proof time? Great. That was Heather Gay's pinnacle, right? And I think now people, and especially with newcomers like Bronwyn pointing things out, I think the reality of who Heather Gay is or is on this show. I mean, listen, these are all people playing certain character archetypes of themselves, but it might not be the reality of their situation. I think Heather is going to have a lot to answer for at some point. I truly think she's going to have a lot to answer for. Now, that's probably not a popular opinion. She's a very popular housewife, but, you watch so many of these shows, you just start getting vibes of people, and you just start seeing how they crave a certain celebrity, or they want to be looked at as the funny one, or as the pretty one, or as this or that. And you can kind of put these characters in certain kind of boxes over time. So we'll see how that plays out. So, I think the whole point of this is just be honest on these shows. If you were able to be honest, and I think in real life, when something horrible happens to you, our natural tendency is to protect that, to hide that, to hold that secret. because there's a layer of shame that you have about it, right? There's a layer of shame. You want to protect yourself, you want to protect your family, so you don't want the world at large to know that. And that's the slippery slope of reality, though. But once you do share that, I think it really, not that I think Mary did this to curry favor with the audience at all. No part of me thinks that she's doing this to try to win us over, but it does win us over. If you didn't watch that last scene with Mary Cosby and Robert Jr. and you didn't feel something, I don't even know what we're doing here. Then I'm saying, hey, Jax, what's up, man? Okay, so that's like kind of my opening statement about Salt Lake. I'm just getting warmed up. I'm on a lot of Sudafed. Got my throat coat. How are you guys? I've missed you guys. Shout out to my Patreon. What up, baddies? I'm sorry I haven't been able to put out a Patreon episode. It is, like I said, been a little crazy. I still tried to get out and like do some walking and would do one thing a day, and it was just very hard, and I would end up paying for that price afterwards and just kind of just being dead. My mind is not fully here. So we'll see how this all pans out, but I hope you had the best Thanksgiving ever. This is so funny. I'm in New York right now. I'm going to go be in the Betches offices tomorrow, and I got a couple live interviews there, which I'm excited about. And then Lori PK Relations, you know Lori PK Relations, she represents Jax and Brittany, and I think she represents a lot of the Vanderpump Valley Bachelor people or whatever. She reached out to me and said, hey, Brittany is doing a live When Reality Hits podcast. Will you post something about it? And I was like, well, yeah. I mean, I'll post something about it because, I want to try to get a sit down with Brittany. I want to try to be able to interview her. But I guess she's doing this show at City Winery Monday night. If I can make it, I'm gonna go. I have Betches all day, so I'm leaving early Tuesday morning. So I think I'm gonna try to go, but we'll see how I'm feeling. But I think it's going to be actually interesting because if I do go, I want to ask a bunch of questions of just like, what do you know about Vanderpump Rules OGs not coming back, and what's turning out to be true? And you guys, so I've said it since day one, Scheana and Lala have a bigger part in the Valley this season than anybody wants to accept. And there are so many thoughts I have about this. I don't know if I'll save most of them I will save most of them for the Pop Culture Roundup, but I did listen to this week's episode of Scheananagins with Scheana and Lala and Janet, and it's really hard. I think also I'm a little sick, so I think my emotions are probably a little more deadened than usual. But I think it's a travesty in some ways that Vanderpump is not coming back with the same cast just because, I mean, I think in a way it almost, once again, I just want to point out, it could have been the easiest season last year for Vanderpump Rules for the women if they had stayed together, right? We've spoken about that idea ad nauseum. But when things like this happen, it just reminds you, and that's why I've always predicted, too, on the Valley Season 2, you are going to see every woman rally around Brittany Cartwright and what's going on with Jax Taylor. You're going to see every woman, and I think two of those women will be Lala and Scheana because I don't know if it's conscious or not, but they'll have realized and probably learned from their mistakes is that the audience wants to see you support the women when these dudes of Vanderpump or the Valley kind of just fully do horrible things, right? So I think you're going to see that happen on the Valley completely, but in a sense, it's a travesty because Lala will never have to answer for her mistakes. I think it's going to take a couple of years for Lala to actually legitimately realize that, she came off really poorly in that last season. Every time I want to give Lala the benefit of the doubt, and this isn't about who she is as I don't want to go that deep with it. I mean, listen, she's trying to make a buck in reality TV. She's got a real family. She's been through her shit. But it really just came off as petty jealousy in the end. When you could have thrown all that anger on the men. You could have even just taken revenge for the Randall of it all and thrown it on Sandoval. But instead, it became this conversation of, is Ariana think she's queen? Like, what an insane conversation to derive out of what actually happened. And the thing is, with somebody that is as well-spoken as Lala is and as popular as Lala is to, I think, a lot of people, you hear that and there's a certain segment of the audience that buy into that really don't like Ariana, which I always find it so interesting because it's like, okay, Why, why? There's this element of, and if you study Vanderpump Rules, like all good historians do, is that you see from the very beginning, I think a lot of people had this thing of that she thought she was better than other people because she had a couple of lines, couple of funny lines that said something like, "I'm prettier than you, I'm smarter than you, I'm funnier than you," and she's had those lines in it, but I think that is nothing in comparison to the shit that Lala has spewed over season after season. And in the end, Ariana, I think, people also like, well, Ariana was kind of boring in the background. Okay, well, something crazy happened and she handled it in such a way that it was really fascinating and refreshing because she stood by her own morals, her own convictions. You didn't have any kind of getting back or backsliding with Tom Sandoval. She went. And then she was able to take every opportunity because the thing is, opportunities will come to all of these reality show people. Opportunities have come for every one of this cast of Vanderpump Rules. Every one of these people have had opportunities. The thing with Ariana, though, she took the opportunities, the right opportunities, and then she actually succeeded in those opportunities. She was really great as a host on Love Island. She was. She was great at that. She was great on Broadway. I mean, I didn't get to see it live, but I did watch a lot of people illegally video her performances. I'm like, this is great. She really rose to the occasion of every opportunity that she got. And that's why I still think there's probably some relief on Ariana's part that she doesn't have to go back. That she can actually, that there, I always said Vanderpump Rules was this show that shackled all of these people to each other and each other's lives because in reality, you're not supposed to be friends with your bartender friends and barbacks from your 20s. When you're nearing 40, it's usually not the friends that are still in your life. So already this show was so far from any sort of reality. So what was shackling to them, to each other, was this legacy of Vanderpump Rules. So it's got to be kind of fun, exciting, scary as hell for Ariana. And I think a lot of them to say, okay, what actually is next? That time we were all scared that was going to happen, when it was going to happen, what was going to happen? Well, it's finally here. And now we can see what's going to happen. So that's why I think a year or two from now is the real discussion that'll be had of really tracking where each one of these people did. Now, Schwartz, like I said, NBC Universal and Bravo are going to take care of all of these people to some degree. They're not giving them a blank check, but you're going to see them pop up on a lot of different shows. They'll be able to pitch their own reality shows to Bravo. You'll probably see a couple of spinoffs from these people. But I think it'll be really, really interesting. But the Lala interview on Scheananagins, once again, I just kept thinking, man, she'll never have to face Katie. She'll never have to face Ariana. They haven't had one conversation since the reunion. And I think that's kind of what the audiences potentially wanted too, was, okay, Lala, I want to hear your point. I want you to speak. I want you to talk this out with Ariana. So in a way, it's like, oh, she gets to escape and go to the Valley in some way. But it's hard because the Valley, right, was already doing great. It's already doing great. Now, I think Scheana's always really good at finding a way into storylines. And I think that's just kind of naturally what Scheana's good at. Lala, it'll be kind of an interesting thing because she'll present herself as like an OG of Vanderpump. And that's why, I don't know, the more I think about the Lala though, remember, she is not an OG cast member. She came on, she was brutally picked apart from like Stassi and Katie, and like, it's like really bullied in a sense. And then, but at the same time, Lala craved their approval, like craved that. And I think obviously, like a lot of these women look up to Stassi in a very big way. And Stassi, turned out to be a real winner of this group. Even with all the shit that went down with her and getting fired, she managed to rise above and is going to be on 2 reality shows on Hulu next year. Obviously, she's on her 3rd book, podcast tour, Patreon. So Stassi was able to sidestep Vanderpump Rules completely, kind of like how I think Ariana's going to do it. Now, I don't know if Lala's going to be able to have that same kind of success. And I think if Lala was able to face it or even accept a little bit of responsibility for how sour that last season turned, and if I was her, I'd be so frustrated that it wasn't coming back. Because you'd be able to have her plea her case, and her not wanting her to plea her case almost makes me think, not that she's scared, but that she potentially doesn't have that many legs to stand on in this argument. So why not just burn it all to the ground? And, I think it's revisionist history a little bit in listening to that episode of Scheananagins where she says, after season 10, I left on a high. I told them I didn't want to come back. And they said, just one season, one season. I don't know what the reality of these conversations are with producers. I do think producers tell each cast member a certain thing that they want to hear. And, if you're to believe Lala doesn't do anything that she doesn't want to do. So I thought it was very interesting that all of a sudden she knew she was the great prognosticator of what was going to happen. This wasn't going to be good. Well, it wasn't good because of how you acted at the very end. Now, Scheana, I said this is Scheana on Scheananagins. Because Scheana has branded herself, or a lot of her behavior is she is the number one friend. Like she's going to out-friend everybody else. And sometimes I just want to make sure it's really what Scheana really feels for the people she's standing behind. Is that, right now she is Lala's number one friend. And I don't know, sometimes I just want Scheana to kind of stand in her own light. And I think a lot of people have wanted that from her since season 1. Because you're like, oh, dude, you got so much going on just yourself that you don't need to, I don't know. To me, it's like this weird game of chess that you see with these reality shows. And I feel like I understand why they're not doing another season. I especially understand it from a production standpoint and a financial standpoint. But I think for the audience, it's a big letdown because there's going to be a lot of just kind of unanswered things that I would have liked to have seen committed to some sort of film. Because I think Lala having a conversation with Ariana, I think it would have solved things pretty quickly. And I think Lala would have ended up apologizing in some ways. Or there's some missing piece of information that that still hasn't come out, even though I don't think that's the case either, because one of them would have blabbed it at this point. So I think that's the letdown for me, is that we're just never going to have that conversation. I mean, listen, we might have a reboot 10 years down the line. These guys are like nearing their AARP entrance age, and then we'll have a Vanderpump Rules reunion or something. Who knows? Time heals a lot of things, and you just never know what's going to happen. But I think in some ways, I think Lala especially, there was an easy way out. There was a very easy way out, and just that it's not coming back. And the thing was, I don't know. Anyways, you know what? I'll save this for the pop culture roundup because I could just talk for hours about this because it's all I've been thinking about while I've been sick. I've just been going back and forth thinking about Vanderpump Rules. And, the thing is, they all really did think they were coming back. This was a very down to the wire decision. So I think that's the interesting thing, is that you're going to find out more about what went into this decision and that they really did think they were coming back. This was not, people really did think at a certain point this was coming back. So there was not some big trick pulled on the audience at all. It just finally came down to this was going to be unmanageable. Woo! Oh, also, it's December 1st. Yeah, it's December 1st today. We are in the last month of the year. So what I want you guys all to do is I want you to set an intention, right? And no, I don't want you to just get through the fucking month. My God, I already can tell. It's going to be such a busy month. And I feel so horrible right now. So let's just get through this month. Let's get to 2025. We're going to have a blast this month. I promise. We got so many recaps and interviews and so much stuff coming up. So I'm just trying to get healthy. So let's just get through this. Also, my favorite holiday song, now is the time where you start to play in holiday and Christmas songs and all this stuff. My favorite holiday song, you guys know this if you are OG listeners of So Bad It's Good, is the one and only A Long December, the best holiday song ever. This is when we do 31 days of A Long December. Play this song every day. Just bum out to this song, man. I love being sad to A Long December. One of the best sad, mopey holiday songs. I love living in California and just driving around the hills, listening to A Long December during December. It is like Inception to the 9th degree. I love it so, so much. What are your favorite holiday songs? What are your favorite sad holiday songs? Okay, let's get into this recap because I know this is going to take a little bit of time to get through. Now, this is season 5, episode 11. It is called Troop Salt Lake City because, like I predicted when I saw the costumes in the trailer, that this Little Heather Gay Whitney outing was a true Beverly Hills inspired outing. Heather spouts off some bullshit about like, true Beverly Hills, the messages in this movie. The movie's just a fun movie. The movie's a fun, cute movie. I'm not sitting there pulling fucking lessons from Batman. My God, just it's a fun movie, Heather. It's not a movie. Oh, God. Let just things be what they are. God damn. So that's the attitude I'm in today. Now, the description Peacock gives us says Heather and Whitney hosts a girls' camp. Meredith invites Mary to a gallery. That's what Peacock thinks the audience needs to know about this episode. And in reality, this episode is about so much more than just Mary visiting Meredith at a hearing gallery. And I'm sorry, I'm thinking about Meredith's hearing issues. Sorry, I'm still a little fuzzy from the medicine. But there's so much more to this episode. I'm begging Peacock to write better show descriptions. My goodness. Also, remember, this week we have Southern Charm premiering on Thursday night. You have Married to Medicine tonight, the second episode, along with Real Housewives of Potomac. Tomorrow you have Below Deck Sailing Yacht. Tuesday you have Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Wednesday you have Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. And then you have a new show premiering called Sold on SLC about real estate agents in Salt Lake City. Eventually, every state will have its own Netflix or Bravo reality series about selling real estate. It's going to be federally mandated at a certain point that if you live in a state, you're going to need to have a reality show based around selling real estate. So you're going to have that as well. I'm forgetting one other, what am I forgetting? Oh, Beverly Hills, Salt Lake. I'm forgetting one, but there's just a lot of TV, a lot of Bravo to watch. And there's tons of watch on other places as well, including the new 3-part JonBenet docuseries on Netflix, which I didn't love and I thought really missed the mark in a lot of ways. Maybe I'll talk a little bit about that on the Pop Culture Roundup, but plenty to watch. Also, did you guys watch Deck the Walls, Danny Pellegrino's Hallmark movie? It is on Peacock streaming now, so make sure you stream it. But okay, let's do it. Let's get into this episode. We start off, as we always do, with scenes from previous week's episodes of Salt Lake City, and we start off with Meredith talking to Seth of, "I've really been thinking a lot, Seth." And Seth's like, "What have you been thinking about, Toots? About thinking about getting in the bathtub and getting freaky deaky with me, Seth Marks? Proof, biatch!" And Meredith's like, "No, I want to get mitzvahed." And Seth's like, "You're going to learn Hebrew and do the whole Torah thing? It's sexy, yeah." And then we cut to Meredith in her classes for her bat mitzvah, singing like, "Hi, do and the lady's like, "Well done, Meredith." And then we flash to the Harley Davidson Milwaukee dinner where Lisa Barlow is kind of getting into it with Whitney. And Lisa's like, "I told you, I don't care if you back Whitney. I care that you went to her with stuff I said to you, Angie Katzendavis. I said it to you in confidence, and I said you just change our relationship." And Angie points at Lisa going, "I'm Greek. You don't like that I'm not just doing whatever you want me to do." And Lisa, "I don't give a fuck what you do." And Angie's like, "Yes, you do." And then we flash to Mary talking to Robert Jr. and his wife, who are eating sweets in their bed, just looking very messed up. And Mary going, "Hey, so what are you guys going to do this week? What are your plans?" And Robert Jr. going, I don't know, to be honest. I don't know. And her in a talking head saying, "Something's going on with Robert Jr. I'm concerned." And then we go to last week's Mary Cosby, Audrey Hepburn brunch, and Heather making a toast of going, "I love that everyone here has been included," which we know did not happen for the Palm Desert trip. Looking directly at Bronwyn for this. "Yeah, I'm glad you weren't invited, Heather. I'm sorry. I'm not in a good mood. I'm glad that you weren't invited. And I wouldn't invite you either at this point. How dare you? Eat crow. Go kiss Jen Shaw's ass some more and then wait till she goes to prison to say a bunch of nasty things about her." Anyways, Bronwyn going, "I am still open to getting to know you, Heather. And Heather going, "Okay, I would." Once Heather realized she wasn't going to win this argument, she pivoted and said, "Okay, I would be absolutely open to clean slate and moving forward." And everybody's like, yay, I just need a little think. I need a little think. And then Angie at the same brunch yelling at, was it Lisa or no, Meredith. And Angie's going, you're hateful, you're miserable. And Meredith going, you're an unhappy woman, Angie Cachanevis. And she had her like corky bangs on, just like, yeah. Yeah, I look like Audrey Hepburn if she drank for 8 days straight and didn't do her hair at all. And Mary going, Angie, stop. Angie, stop. Meredith, if you're not going to listen to me, get out of my house. And Meredith probably saw her bangs in the reflection and goes, oh, I got to go. These don't look too good. These don't look good. So Meredith left, remember? And Whitney had grabbed Meredith's phone and Meredith tried to grab it back. It was just pure insanity happening. So that's where we start. And we hear the choral music with like some synth, like, and we see the snow-capped mountains, just like you're in a fever dream when you walk. I mean, like I've had nightmares where these snow-capped mountains have been there. You know, you see that in the background and the foreground. It's all of these like cookie cutter houses that look like little doll houses, right? Like there's no way this is real life, but somehow this is Salt Lake City. And we open up to Heather Gay bringing some flowers, walking up to a door with flowers and some wine. And she's at Whitney's house. And she's bringing this flowers and wine to Whitney. And I'm like, wow, bad weather having a scene together. And Heather's like, oh, I sewed these this morning. They're not totally profesh. And we see that they're like those Girl Scout sashes with a bunch of patches on it. We see an American flag patch. You see a pride patch on there. But they look cool. And when he goes, these go perfect with our visors. And they're like green visors. And they're like, oh, this is perfect, perfect, perfect. Heather's like, we're camp counselors, but we're also Girl Scouts. So, and Whitney's like, we're like the leaders. We're the camp leaders. Heather says, Whitney and I are kind of like the sporty, outdoorsy girls of the group, if you can believe it. I don't believe it, Heather. I think most of the things that you say are lies. I don't believe it. I don't. I don't. We're only a 2 minute. I don't believe it. And Heather in her talking head continues, and based on what happened at Mary's brunch, I think a little gathering around the campfire is exactly what this group needs. No, what this group needs is, I feel like somebody's gonna get pushed into this campfire. This is fucking like, this is more intense than Yellow Jackets season 2. I would not trust any of these ladies around a campfire. One false move, those bangs on Meredith's head are going up in smoke. Anyways, they're drinking the wine already midday. Whitney has an air horn. And Whitney's like, for anyone who breaks the rules, I'll do my air horn. Toot! Heather says, things have been tense. When the fingers start wagging and the bangs start creeping, and we flash back to Meredith with the bangs at Mary Cosby's brunch going, stop, stop, stop. Heather says, you're in trouble. So there's no one better at Camp Kumbaya than me and Whitney. So once again, we have Heather placing herself as this reliable narrator character of, look at me, you can trust me. I'm the one that could potentially bridge this gap, right? You know, but she doesn't want to bridge any gaps. She wants to bridge gaps with the popular housewives, but she's very reticent to let people like Bronwyn in. And Bronwyn's making such a strong showing that I feel that really threatens Heather, right? Anyways, Whitney is still showing off her props, going, we can use these to roast the marshmallows. Yeah. Will you start making the invite? And Heather's typing up on her iPhone, in the wilderness of life, everyone could use some skills. Join us for our version of girls camp. We'll be having a potluck. Please bring a side dish or a dessert to share. Attire is Girl Scout chic. And Whitney's like, can you say bring your heels and your feels? Do you mean hills, Hills, or heels, Hee? Who knows? Can you bring your heels and your feels? Make it a little. And Heather goes, no, heels, but all the feels. Lennon and McCartney writing a Beatles song, right? You know? And when he's like, walk me through, Heather, what you were initially thinking. And there's like a couple of relay races. team building activities. After everything that went down at Mary's house, it was bananas. Bananas, Heather. I don't even know how Meredith and I can be in a room together. And we flash back to that brunch where Whitney is trying to turn up the volume on Meredith's phone because she was playing that podcast of Sean, Angie Katzenavas' husband. And Whitney grabs the phone to turn it up. And Meredith goes, I'll hold my own phone. I'll just stop scrolling on my phone, and rips it out of Whitney. Like, whatever the fuck was on that. Like, I mean, something must have been really on that home screen where you could easily, I'll handle my own phone. Even Mary Cosby's like, zoinks. Heather in this scene goes, I want Meredith there, obviously, because I love her, obviously, but also because I think she missed out on a lot of this stuff. I don't think she did crafts or camping. Oh, that's so nice of Heather, because she thinks Meredith missed out on childhood arts and crafts. So she really needs to be here. That's a good reason. It would kill me if Meredith didn't know the joys of potato sack racing at her age. And Whitney goes, do you really think that's her problem? Is that why she's kind of like miserable? She didn't get to do like the girl bonding team building? And Heather goes, I am not falling into that little bear trap. So Heather, very obvious that she's playing a game at all times of like, I'm not gonna agree with you and have this used against me in another scene, Whitney. These two people trying to get at each other, and they're like, I'm too smart for the game that you are playing. And Whitney goes, I love Meredith, Heather, but I don't like her right now. I love her, but I don't like her. Can I invite Bronwyn? And Heather goes, sure, but I don't know Bronwyn enough to love her or hate her. Well, you sure acted like you hated her. So you do know enough. So thanks for backtracking. When he goes, I don't want to say I was proud of you, but I was like, Heather, that was a beautiful moment of like seeing you be willing, just like accept the apology at the brunch. That was big of you. Sorries don't come from you very easily. Which is a nice little dig, but Heather doesn't pick up on that dig. Heather says, this is where I'm at with Bronwyn. Nothing changed from the way I felt about her and the read I got on her, but I don't want to police your friendships. I don't want to be in a bad space, and I definitely don't want her getting in between the friendships that I do love and care about. But just like between you and me, I just think she's sneaky. Oh, so you don't love or hate, but you think she's sneaky. Okay. In a talking head, Heather goes, I want to be friends with people who the second I get up from the table, I'm not wondering what they're saying about me. And I don't get that confidence in Bronwyn. When someone shows you who they are, believe them. That's a two-way street, Heather. That's a two-way street. And also, this is why these shows are so ridiculous, because the name of the game is talking about people behind their backs. There's never not a scene where you are not. What they're doing right now is talking behind somebody's back. Like, that's why it's all so silly and inconsequential, because they all do it. Whitney goes, well, listen, I think that you two have just gotten off on the wrong freaking start. That's it. And Heather just kind of looks at her, intrigued. Huh, interesting. Then all of a sudden, we see Meredith Marks walking down a street in the mean streets of Salt Lake City. Actually, this is Park City where she's at right now. And I swear to God, I read a comment the other day on one of the videos that I said Meredith is obviously a really beautiful woman. That's why it was so crazy to see her in those bangs. And they're like, Meredith's a beautiful woman, LOL. I'm sorry. Wait, do you not see Meredith in this scene with like the gray ensemble, the gray skirt, the gray, the hair slicked back, no horrible corky bangs in this? And you don't think she looks beautiful? Like, I'm sorry. I think she is stunning in this scene. I couldn't believe that somebody was like, no, she's not beautiful. Like, what are you talking about? What? Zoinks! Anyways, we're at this place called Relevant Galleries. He's like, welcome to Relevant Galleries. I'm Justin. What's up? And she's like, Meredith. My name's Meredith. Would you care for some champagne? And Meredith's like, sure. Why not? It's 12 o'clock. Let's do it. Yeah. So it's like this photograph art place. I don't know. Like, I was looking at all the photos on the wall, and I was just kind of like, this looks like Z Gallery stuff, or Ross Dress for Less a little bit, in those back areas, just with better frames on it. Anyways, Meredith in a talking head goes, I thought that me and Mary had a solid friendship, but friends don't know what she did. They don't come and just start yelling at you and picking at you. They don't do that. They pull you aside one-on-one and say, hey, this is what's going on. in the in the gallery, she's talking to the guy Justin. She goes, "It's all pretty spectacular, I have to say." she's just looking. She's looking at these. Like, I'm sorry. Like, they're fine, and I'm sure they're really expensive, and I'm sure they sell well. But like, it's all pretty spectacular. Yeah. Is this Banksy? Oh, is this a Keith? Is it Keith Haring? Oh, is this a early Warhol? This is really good stuff. It's pretty spectacular. Yeah, interesting. And in talking head, she goes, "I would have expected Mary to reach out to me. But when she didn't, I figured I'd just be the bigger person. And that's why I invited her to the gallery today. There is no reason to have some childish standoff because I haven't done anything to Mary except support her for the last 4 years when no one else would." Now, I kind of agree with Meredith on that. We've joked about that many times on this show where Meredith, I mean, to a fault, would always like, Mary would be babbling some kind of weird shit and Meredith would be like, "That's a very interesting point, Mary. You make a lot of sense there." And I'd be like, "What?" She was like, "Ba ba ga ba." And she'd be like, that's very, you just nailed it. Very laser like, Mary. Very good." And I would be like, what is going on? Like, Meredith would act like she speaks fluent Mary. Now, this season, I feel like Mary's speaking full English, and all of a sudden, Meredith is the wackadoo. And that's how, like, the power balance really shifts really quickly. I also don't know why you would pick this random art gallery in Park City to meet Mary at. Like, if you want to have a conversation about your friendship, why don't we just do it on your couch? Why do we need to get the art involved? Right? Like, it's so weird. Anyways, she gets her champagne. She's like, "Cheers, all right." And we cut from that, and there's tense music playing. And all of a sudden, we're at Mary Cosby's house, and we hear Mary going, "Bubs, Robert." She's yelling upstairs, "Robert, Robert." And we see that corner on Mary's stairway where we see little Robert Jr., like in the Robert Jr. little kid photos in the gigantic gold ornate frames. And there's like two huge vases in between. And by the way, I was just thinking about this. You have those two pictures leading up to his doorway. Above his door, you have the wood cutout lettering Robert Jr., and it just makes everything that much darker because you see how much, and I think a lot of us do this with our past, is that we almost not fetishize our past, but we honor it in such a way, and it makes it so much darker, and it almost makes you not really want to face what's going on in the present day. And this shrine to who Robert Jr. used to be as a kid, I feel like some of this shit should be taken down for the time being, because also even just psychologically, I was thinking about Robert Jr. and every time, he's fighting this addiction and he has to walk up to his room and pass all of these shots of him by himself as a kid being put in poses and then go to his room that has his wood lettering Robert Jr. above the door that he lives in this room with his supposed wife. Like, that's some dark, dark shit. And I feel like it probably doesn't help the scenario at all. Anyways, Mary wakes her way up to his room, and she, in a talking head, says, "I'm trying to navigate my life right now because I just feel like Robert Jr. is my priority, and I feel like I need to focus on him." She knocks on the door, no answer. "Robert, you in there?" "Bubs." In a talking head, she says, "Robert and I are very close, and I can feel him." And we have this shot. It's to me, this is a shot out of like Midsommar or Hereditary, an Ari Aster A24 film, because it just shows like almost modern day horror during the daytime. I think Real Housewives of Salt Lake City is modern day horror because most of it takes place during the days, but it just shows that there is something insidious. I keep using the word insidious in this in Beverly Hills because it just feels like something is creeping beneath the surface, and it's all about this artifice when underneath real insanity is happening. And there's a shot where it's a shot of Mary from behind and the huge door with the Robert Jr. lettering. And to me, I'm like, study this in film schools because this says everything you need to know about what's going on right now. Mary says right now, Robert Jr.'s energy is very absent. So I'm thinking about, what's he doing? Where's he at? Why is it 1 PM? Why is he still sleeping? And she just yells in the door, "I'm leaving. I'm going to meet Meredith, okay?" In a talking head, she says, "I feel like I've just been choosing to just ignore him and hope that it would go away. I need to talk to him, and I need him to tell me the truth, like the honest truth of where he's at. Tell me the gospel." And then she turns from the door and goes, I don't know why I'm talking to the door. So this kind of like, this is one of the beginning scenes. And then, of course, we sandwich it with the end scene with Robert. So I almost wish they had put the scene at the very tippy top of the episode instead of Heather and Whitney, because it would have sandwiched it perfectly. But listen, we could fix that in the edit at a later time. So we go to a big sign that says, Welcome to Park City. And we're back at this relevant gallery. And it says 40 minutes later. So we're supposed to believe that Meredith has waited in this gallery for 40 minutes and she's staring at the art. And this is like, it's like black and white photographs. This one looks like, oh my God, is this who I think it? Oh my God. When you freeze frame it, it's, by the way, it's like a guy with like a old timey photo of like cowboys. It's a guy with his gun on the table, drinking a whiskey, supposedly, with a lot of chips in the middle, playing cards. There's a wolf in the middle and a girl on the other side. But if you freeze frame this, you're like, wait a sec, I know that guy. That's Gerard Butler. So Gerard Butler is in this piece of art. And then the other one is, what's her name? That girl that's like BFFs with all the celebrities and she has some issues. She's like BFFs with like Taylor Swift and Megan Thee Stallion. She's British. Why am I blanking on her name? I'm just sick. I normally would have this information at the ready. What is she? God, she's had some substance abuse issues over the years. She was in Only Murders in the Building last season. I'm just going to name her entire resume and hope you guys. No, you know what? I'm going to find it. You know what? It's important for me to find this. Cara Delevingne. That is the actor, Cara Delevingne. And this is why you got to watch these shows freeze framed on a small laptop so you can notice these details. I'm like, oh yeah, it's Gerard Butler and Cara Delevingne in this art gallery. And Meredith is studying this photo like, very interesting. I love art. It's very, very exciting. I'm 40... Mary Cosby's 40 minutes late, but I'm studying this photograph. Very interesting. And one of the ladies working there going, are you looking for anything in particular? No, I'm sorry. I can't afford anything in here. I rent. No, I'm joking. Actually, I'm meeting somebody here. Hopefully meeting here somebody. Hopefully. Soon. She's, only about 40 minutes late so far. We'll see. Under the best of circumstances, being an hour late is terribly impolite. Given these circumstances, Meredith says, it's a very strong message you're sending me. It's a strong message that something's going on at home, Meredith. Do not personalize this. And this is what I'm going to keep bringing this up, but this is all of these housewives. You know how they have like a dossier on each other? Like they collect information. Ali Rabba. Like they all dive into each other's personal lives. Robert Jr. had been going through this for a hot minute, not just at the time of this filming, but before this. They all know this. Like, this is what shocks me. Like, didn't any of these people stop to think, like, or just first ask, Mary, how's your son? How's your son, Mary? What's going on at home? Like, that to me is the obvious thing that's going on. Even going into this season, I knew what we were about to see. So she's pulls out her phone, and of course, Meredith has a cell phone case with her own image on it. M. Meredith pop socket. She's FaceTiming somebody. She's like, hi, and it's Brooks. And Brooks is like, why are you FaceTiming me? Well, I'm kind of irritated, you guys. And then all of a sudden we see that Brooks is with her daughter, I think her name is Chloe, right? And so Brooks and Chloe both, like they're in their mid-20s, both pop up on the FaceTime. She's like, I'm very annoyed. After how rude Mary was to me last week, kids, I texted her and got no response. And I'm like, I'm worried. Her behavior is very unusual. It's not her character. So I'm just like, maybe something bigger is going on. I'll invite her to meet me at the gallery. She's going to be like an hour late, it looks like. She's still not here. And Brooke's like, it makes me think that what you're saying is even more true about something going on and this being so out of the ordinary. And Meredith's like, well, there's only so much I can accept. Well, I think if it's something like going on with Robert Jr., I think you should be able to accept all of it. But that's just my thought. And also, like, I just still think it's funny. Like, I just thought I would invite her an hour out of town to this gallery to try to figure it out, reach out as a friend, make her drive. She goes, well, anyways, kids, I'm going to focus on the photography. I just saw Cara Delevingne. I'll speak to you later. All right. She gets off the phone, and then all of a sudden we see an SUV pull up. A guy pulls out, comes out to open the door for Mary. Mary has these huge heels on. She kind of gets herself set, goes into the relevant gallery, comes in, and just kind of starts like looking around, like, okay, okay. Meredith's staring at a big tiger black and white print. And all of a sudden, Mary Cosby's like, hello, Meredith. And Meredith goes, hi, Mary. How are you? And she's like, I'm okay. How are you? How are you? I'm good. Is everything okay? Mary's like, in terms of, Meredith goes, life, you? Oh yeah, a little, bothered, but I'm good. I was concerned after I left the other day, Mary. And Mary pauses. You seemed a little out of character, so. And Mary goes, I did or you did? Woo! Mary goes, well, I thought you did. And I probably did as well. Mary takes off her sunglasses, puts them on top of her head, going, uh-oh, we're going to have words now. And Mary goes, and why would you think that I did when I invited you to my house? And I've seen you in many of people's homes. And I've never seen you walk on anyone's homes ever since I've known you. I no longer felt welcome in your home. Did you see the bangs I was wearing? I was very out of sorts that day. Please, Mary. And Mary goes, oh, really? Okay, okay. I'm not going to stay somewhere, Mary, where I don't feel welcome. And Mary goes, okay, okay. Well, I don't think you would either, Mary. I don't think you would either. Mary goes, I don't think I would do that to you. For me, that's not friendship. That's not a healthy friendship. And it's not, and Mary goes, well, I don't think that it is a healthy friendship because you apparently have been harboring some hostility towards me for quite some time. And Mary's like, well, I mean, clearly you have too. Meredith goes, Angie was coming after me. And you told me repeatedly, Mary, that you would always stand up for me. And instead you jumped on the bandwagon. And I was like, why am I here? And Mary's like, first of all, I do not jump on I am not a bandwagon jumper on her. First of all, what you did, I felt like you severed our friendship, Meredith. And there's a big thunder beat like, woo. Mary is starting to, sing the gospel here. She's like, you're not always the victim, Meredith. And Meredith goes, no, I'm not. You've done things, Meredith. You portray that. It's always something doing something to you as if I don't ever take up for you. Well, I came here. I still extended the olive branch, Mary, of inviting you here in hopes that we could resolve it. And Mary goes, yeah, well, you started. And, well, you showed up an hour late, Mary Cosby. And then Mary goes, you know what, Meredith? Have a good day. Have a good day, okay? And then Meredith goes, well, you've used me for 3 years. I got the memo. Thank you. And then Mary goes, go find a life. Go find a life. Find a life. A better one. She kind of stumbles. A better one than you got as she's walking for the door. In a talking head, Mary goes, I'm carrying a big cross right now with Robert. I feel that the fact that Meredith has no idea what I'm going through speaks volumes of where our friendship is. And if people are going to say they're my friend and be in my life, then be a friend and be in my life. But if you're not, bye. I'm good. I don't need you. Bye. And Meredith is still just kind of wandering. Oh, this is very interesting art. I like this very much. That just didn't go exactly how I thought it would go, but okay. Who can I do? Okay, we come back from break and we are at the Loveland Living Planet Aquarium. And we see Lisa Barlow and her son walking through the parking lot. She's like, hold my hand. Are you too cool for me, Henry? And he's like, no, this kid is so cute. I love this kid. He's like doing a little dance. He does this little dance in the aquarium. And she's like, I love your little dance moves. I love them. And he's like, a lot of swag, a lot of riz. And then all of a sudden we see Angie Katzenavas and her daughter Electra pull up in the aquarium. And she has this 6 foot stuffed snake with a red bow on it. And Angie's like, hi. Lisa in a talking head goes, Angie and I were really close. I feel like we had a real friendship where she called me a lot. We could talk through things. I would take all of Angie's calls no matter what time, no matter where I was. And Angie hugs Henry and Lisa hugs Electra. And Angie's like, hey, Henry, do you like fake snakes? Or are you too old for fake snakes? I'm Greek. And Henry's like, I'll take fake snakes. And like, okay. Lisa in the talking head says, I want to repair things with Angie because I miss my friend. Like, we've never been in this place before, and I hope we can change it. And Lisa's like, this is so sweet of you to give Henry this 6 foot stuffed snake. Angie. And Angie's like, I mean, you're a little too old for stuffies. And Henry's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Who said I'm too old for stuffies? Yeah, I mean, that's, dude, I had like this is not going to shock anybody. Even in late high school, I had like a Simba stuffy. Yeah, a Simba stuffed animal. It was badass, dude. It was badass. In fact, Sandra got me another Simba stuffy last time. I love stuffies. Shocker. I think there needs to be like Real Housewives stuffies. Real Housewives stuff. You had like a Ramona stuffed animal that was like, oops, I shit on the floor. Anyways, Lisa's like, do you guys want to go to the snake exhibit? And I thought there was such like deeper hidden meaning here of like looking at a snake exhibit because all of the people in this cast thinks each other are snakes. So I thought there was like this deep meaning. I'm sure like whose idea was this? Was this like, did anybody catch on that like we're like a snake exhibit? Electra's like, I love snakes. And Lisa's like, you do? They terrify me. And the subtext there is, your mom's a snake, Electra. And Angie asks Henry, are you scared of snakes? And he's like, no. Angie in a talking head says, I was surprised to get this invitation from Lisa. I was surprised. But I know I've been a great friend to Lisa. I mean, I've been her confidant. I've been her 100 phone calls a day. I've been there for her. Now, this is so interesting, too, because Lisa in her talking head said, I've taken every one of Angie's calls. But in Angie's talking head says, I've taken hundreds of calls from Lisa every day. Now, remember, Angie got on this show and was really close with Jen Shah. And it feels like Angie, I really like Angie. I've grown to really, really like her. I think she's kind of turned into a little bit iconic in certain ways just because of the Greek thing. But like, you know, as you warm up to her, like layer, it's like the onion, peeling the onion. You got the stuff with the mom. She's a great mom. You got the stuff with the husband. There's a lot of stuff there. But Angie, I feel like ingratiates herself with people like Jen Shah and people like Lisa. And then I think she has a weirdly honest friendship with Mary Cosby, of all people. Like, I feel like that's almost the most genuine relationship Angie has on this show. But it feels like she put herself in the path of a lot of people that just wanted to talk or just kind of hear themselves monologue potentially, like Jen Shah or potentially Lisa Barlow, even though Lisa Barlow thinks it's the other way around. So I think that's something interesting as well. And I don't know if that was Angie trying to get on the show or if that was Angie just, those were the people in her life. Who knows? Anyway, so they're getting led back to this snake exhibit. And he continues in the talking head saying, I'm sure Lisa's missing me. They bring out the snake. It looks exactly like Heather Gay. No, I'm joking. They're like, wow, look at this snake. Oh my God. And Lisa's like, oh my God, they are terrifying, the snake. The lady who's running them through this exhibit's like, to match kind of what you have brought to the aquarium with your stuffy, we have our red-tailed boa here. His name is Crunk. Would you guys like to touch him? And Lisa's like, I'm terrified. And Henry's like, I'll touch him. Electra's like, I'll touch him. So they're touching him. And the lady's like, a lot of people think snakes are slimy, but they're actually not. In fact, they do have locations called Beauty Lab and Laser where, no, it says red-tailed boas will sit around and wait for their prey. And then when they get it, they will wrap around their prey and constrict it, which I will point out, by the way, the instructor is teaching them this. The boa is literally around this lady's waist, constricting it as she's saying the boa will take their prey, go around them and constrict it, and then swallow it whole. And I'm like, lady, Shelby, watch out, lady. Watch out. Anyways, Lisa goes, sounds like a good friend. And Angie kind of makes a like twerk head with her like, oh, is that a little dig? Is that a little dig at me? Anyways, that's the exhibit. They're like, thank you guys so much. And now they're in the shark habitat where you see all like the wild, like, you know, aquarium life. By the way, the coloring in this scene is so beautiful with the water. I was like, this is what the movie Avatar should have been. I felt like these were like the Na'vi. I was like, wow, this James Cameron, this is a beautiful beautiful shot here with the, I think this is, you can tell I'm really sick. I just think I'm like, this is cinematic. Like the lighting on Lisa and Angie in the scene is insane. Anyways, they send the kids to go off and play so Lisa and Angie can have a chat, which I wish the cameras would have followed these kids. So Henry's like, I gotta go. And Angie's like, Henry, keep an eye on Electra for me, okay? He's like, I got my stuffy. I'm fine. I'm fine. So they walk off, and all of a sudden there's a pause between Lisa and Angie. And Lisa, by the way, she's wearing this thing that looks like she's like Oscar the Grouch. It looks exactly like the puppet material from Oscar the Grouch from Sesame Street. Like she's wearing Oscar the Grouch. Lisa goes, I feel like we got like off track, like big time. Yeah. And Angie's like, it's been a loss for me. I'm not going to lie. I feel like it's a loss for me too. Like after my Bezos party, everything went really left. And as you know, I'm very right wing. No, I'm joking. She's like, as you know, it does not impact me and you, but I don't want you to choose sides with Whitney. And Angie's like, well, we're here because you don't trust me. I created distance because I was so hurt, Ange. And Angie's like, I don't know what I did to hurt you. When I try and like talk things through with you, Ange, I always go directly to you. Like even with Heather saying like Angie and like is basically saying you're a bad mom about me. I'm like, I'm gonna talk to Angie about it. I'm not talking to you about it. And Angie's like, I felt like you were being a bad friend. I never said you were a bad mom. And Angie's like, you're a great mom. And Lisa's like, I feel like it's been really sensitive with you and me because we are real friends. I don't like when anyone says anything badly about you. Like, I feel like I've been defended. Lisa goes from 0 to tears and like so quickly. She's like, I feel like I've defended you and Sean so much. And then I'm like, where's someone? Like, I don't need someone to fight my battles, but you could have my back a little more. And Angie's like, Lisa, I have had your back. No, but I feel like you're like listening to Whitney on a lot of things. And Angie's like, I'm not. I promise you that. I'm like, I am not listening to Whit. I promise you that. I feel like, Lisa, I've tried so hard to prove to you that I'm a good friend. You don't have to prove anything to me, Angie. You don't have to prove that to me. I needed you to just say, I hear you. I hear that you're hurt and I'm sorry. That's all I needed from you because I'm like, listen, how many times is Whitney gonna lie about me? She's made up stuff about my marriage, my business, accused me of doing things I didn't do. I was just looking for you to say, I've got you, girl. That's fucking shitty. I can't believe she did that to you. It doesn't mean change your relationship with her. It means hear me. That's so hurtful to me. And Angie's like, okay, I'm going to apologize right now that I didn't do that. I know you would be there for me if I needed you. 100%. You have had my back, Lisa. And I think you do at times feel like you need to defend yourself. And so you're explaining, but you're not like really seeing where I'm coming from. You know, what do you need me to see? I do love you, Lisa, but I also need to be treated differently by you because I'm super sensitive when it comes to friendships. So now Angie really opening up her heart, and there's part of me wondering if Lisa's actually listening or not. I'm like, oh my God, the sharks are in the water. It's crazy. Angie goes, I want to share something with you. I think growing up, Lisa, there were times where my mom was having her struggles, and like I probably didn't always feel safe. And when something is chaotic, I just get really quiet and I just try to stay calm. And when you get elevated, instead of like saying what I think or what I feel, I shut down. In a talking head, I think as a kid that I tried to stay calm when my mom was struggling. And I find myself doing that with Lisa. But I'm not acknowledging my own feelings and emotions and how making me feel. She tells Lisa, I want you and I to be resolved. It's just we've let this go too far. But that is interesting, right? Like, it is interesting to think of the patterns that we start as a kid and potentially things that we're trying to make good in our lives. We carry on those patterns in relationships into our adulthood, and that we never really ask for what we feel or what we need or want because we're so busy trying to make sure everybody else is okay that, and then eventually that just all kind of explodes on you. because you've never told anybody how you actually feel because you're so worried about how the other person feels. And I do believe, especially last season, you saw so much insecurity with Angie K. So it's interesting for her to have to rewire these aspects of herself. So she goes, I'm sorry. And Lisa's smiling. She's like, okay. And he's like, I don't want anything else to come between us. Me either. Angie says, we've never really had this kind of conversation like this before. Like, I don't know. I'm finally feeling like Lisa sees me. She's calmed down. She's willing to listen. And I'm hoping that we can move forward with a new relationship. She tells Lisa, and you know what I just realized? What? And get this. Angie says the Greek word for fish is psari, P-S-A-R-I. And then I was like, interesting. And I did some digging, and it turns out Angie K is Greek. And she brought the Greek thing. She found a way to jam Greek into this. She was like, I was doing some, I just realized the Greek word for fish is sorry. Yeah. And the Greek word for snake is Heather Gay. Interesting. So she goes, I'm sorry. I'm pisari, Lisa. And Lisa's like, ah. And now they're smiling and they're hugging. And Greek's like, Angie's like, I love you. And they're like, I love you. So that was like a sweet scene. So now supposedly they're all good, right? We cut to commercial. We come back and we see the sun rise on beautiful Salt Lake. Really kind of a dreary day. We see some trees. It's the morning of camp day. And we're over at Mary Cosby's. And we see all of these potions and lotions and perfumes, and she's like, what am I gonna wear? Mary Cosby does some of her best work by herself with the mannequin heads in her room. We see a mannequin head with all these jewels on it. We see these books all lined up, Chanel, Gucci, all these like, sorry, it's just, sorry, I just started choking. Amazing stuff. Fun being sick. Anyway, she's talking to herself. She's like, am I gonna wear these? I like these Montclair pants, all right? Might wear snow pants because I am not trying to freeze, she says. So she's like laying out these clothes for the camp trip, which is not even an overnight camp trip. It's like just a daytime camp thing. Anyways, she says it's been a couple of days, but I haven't talked to Robert Jr. He's never home, she says, or he's home and he's locked up in his room. And his room, by the way, I did like a freeze frame of his room. He's got a full fridge in his room, a microwave. It looked like he has an air fryer in there. Like the guy has his room is like set up so he can just stay in that room. Anyway, she's like putting these clothes on a bed. She's like, okay, I could wear this. I'm not going to wear this. In a talking head, she continues, he's just kind of not like he used to be. Like my Robert comes to my room every day and sits in my chair and talks to me. And we have like a daily debrief about just anything. And those days are just coming and going, and there's no Robert. Anyway, she finally settles on an outfit. She's like, I like this. Okay. And you get this sense of how, or it almost appears, if you look a little deeper, that this feels like a very lonely life. And I will say one of the biggest favors that this show did Mary Cosby is to take out the aspect of her religion completely and any mention of her church, which was a big focus of Mary Cosby's on the first season. And they've done her a real solid in not focusing on her church at all or the church activities. So you kind of forgotten about all of that stuff. But it just seems like, and it seemed like even back then, but you know, with this kind of lonely, sad existence in some ways, and you could see where, you know, potentially this relationship with her son was this lifeblood for her. You know, is that she does spend so much time alone, or it appears, you know, that she spends so much time alone, that she just does talk to herself in monologues. Like even if the cameras weren't there, you kind of imagine that she would do this. We see these pictures of Mary and a young kid, Robert Jr., going, I look at him, I see my baby, and we see a picture of him now, and she's like, I just want my baby back. I just want my baby back, baby. Sorry. Chili's, and she walks out of the room. I don't know, it's really sad, right? So then we see Deer Creek State Park. This is where this little Heather and Whitney fun Troop Beverly Hills excursion is going to be happening. They're all dressed up like Troop Beverly Hills. when he's like, I look like I'm in Scotland with this beret on, And Heather goes, our inspiration for this camp day is Troop Beverly Hills. It's about like girl empowerment. It's about expanding your expectations, not feeling sorry for yourself, not being a victim. It's just like I said, it's just a fun movie with Shelley Long. My God. Jeez. She keeps going. It's about owning your authentic identity. When he's like, someone snuck into the marshmallows, ha ha. And Heather's like, who, me? It was a long drive. Heather continues in the talking head. If I could have one of those themes from the movie translate to our girls' camp amongst us as friends, it will be a successful day. Yeah, you know that scene in Troop Beverly Hills where somebody started a Instagram account and started attacking Shelley Long? Just totally. Anyways, Whitney's like, do you think they're going to love this? And Heather's like, I think they're going to love it, love, hate it. So we see all the ladies driving up to this campsite, and Bronwyn's in a car with Meredith and Lisa. And Bronwyn's like, this is my first time camping. And Bronwyn's in a full, like, big old kimosabi hat and looks like a Girl Scout uniform with like a shawl over it. And Meredith and Lisa have like the two front seats, and they've been doing this with like 3-person scenes where they'll put the third person in the very back but in the middle. And I will tell you, I noticed this. None of these ladies in these cars are wearing seatbelts. And listen, I'm not trying to rain on anybody's parade, but seatbelts, pretty important, like, come on. And also, especially if you're in Bronwyn's seat, you're going to get ejected immediately. There's nothing in the middle. Like, it scares the shit out of me. None of these, and I know it screws up the outfit, but my God, I'd be scared shitless if I was Bronwyn. Like, you have me in the death seat again? Anyways, Bronwyn's like, this is the closest I'm ever going to get to camping. She lets us know, I didn't go to sleepaway camp. And Lisa says, I did 1 year, and I didn't like being away from my parents. You loved it, Meredith. Meredith goes, I did. And Lisa goes, it's a big thing culturally to make your friends for like life and who you're going to do business with. Whitney went with a lot of people that worked with Alibaba at her camp. Meredith goes, I love how Lisa's going to sleepaway camp at 8 years old, deciding who she's doing business with. Lisa's like, yes, all the people that have invested in Vita Tequila were my bunkmates in grade 5 sleepaway camp. Tin Roof Rusted. Okay, then in another car, we have Angie and Mary Cosby, right? And Angie's like, so Mary Cosby, what's the latest with you and Meredith? And Mary's like, well, she goes, yesterday I met up with her and she had the audacity to try to come for me as if I did something to her. She goes, oh, clearly you don't care about me. You're an hour late. And I wanted to say so bad, sweetheart, if you stop renting in Park City and start renting in Salt Lake, maybe I can get to where I'm going. Boom! Shots fired for Mary Cosby. Mary's like, but it took me an hour from my house to get where she met. And Angie's like, after she stormed out of your house. Yeah, after she stormed out of my house, Angie K. Like, God knows, I don't care what she thinks. I don't care what she's feeling. I don't care. Come on, Mary, you don't mean that, but I understand the sentiment. And Angie's like, well, and it's like, I'm sorry, but she acted like she was all worked up, but she didn't forget to stop to take her parting gift. And Mary laughs, and ha 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 ha. And we flash back to Meredith leaving, going, I think it's time to go. And she picks up the like nice, beautiful aqua blue day planner, and Angie K clocks it and rolls her eyes. I have to go, but first I will be stealing all of the china. Yes, I have to go. Angie says, hey, Mary, I thought she was going to take your Armani statue on the way out too. And Mary goes, oh my God. I love Mary Cosby's titillation with like, oh, you clocked it. That was that type of stat. That's great. You clocked that. Amazing. And Mary Cosby goes, where's she going to put it, Ange? At the Airbnb? Whoa. Where's she going to put it? At her Airbnb? Damn, Mary Cosby clocked Meredith. Now back in the other car, Bronwyn says, the last time I saw Mary was at her house. You left. And Lisa goes, she kicked her out. And Mary's like, normally I wouldn't have even reached out, but I thought with my Shabbat dinner and the bat mitzvah coming up, I should reach out. I should be a big person. Like, I don't want her to not be a part of something that's important in my life. She showed up an hour late. She said, I severed our friendship. And Lisa's like, how? At her house. How? By leaving. I've never left anyone else's house. But she hurt your feelings. I even said to her after you left, Meredith is hurt. Then she tells me to stop playing a victim. And Lisa gasps, oh, and Bronwyn makes a zoinks face. Zoinks? Gasp? Bazonks? Boo! And this is where I'm like, just wear the seatbelt, ladies. My God, everybody's gasping. And Bronwyn's like, where did you guys leave it? And Meredith goes, well, she stormed out. Now, back in the other car, Angie goes, do you feel like your friendship is one-sided with her or has been for a long time or has been for a long time? And Mary's like, it's very one-sided. She's very self-absorbed. She's a lot like Lisa. Just say a prayer for her. She does not want to mess with me. I'm not playing a game today. And then he goes, yeah. Damn. Anyways, Bronwyn says, in the other car says, when I got the text from Heather inviting me with Whitney, when I got the text from Heather and Whitney together, did that surprise you at all? And Meredith goes, first of all, I was surprised I was even invited by Whitney, but anyway, go on. And Bronwyn's like, well, I was surprised I was invited by Heather, so we're on the same page. No, I know they're cousins, the full works, but she has not spoken kindly of Heather. Sorry, I keep having coughing attacks. Okay, so Bronwyn's like, I was uncomfortable coming today because I don't know where I stand with all of the ladies. But I don't even know where they all stand with each other. It's a lot. It's like, the meme where it's all the stuff on the wall with all the red string. Like, that's how I feel about this group of friends and who talks and who doesn't. So she's referring to the It's Always Sunny meme with Charlie, pointing in all different directions and all of that stuff. And she's exactly right. That's really the nucleus of the show, right? But Bronwyn's like, it seems like, Lisa goes, it seems like she's the two-faced one. And, Bronwyn's like, well, I'm not the one. I'm not the one hosting a party. Bronwyn in the talking head goes, I've really started with these women on this foot of like, I will call it as I see it and I will tell you how I feel and I don't deal with a lot of hypocrisy and bullshit behind people's backs. But I'm now hearing a lot of hypocrisy and bullshit behind people's back. Bronwyn tells the ladies, I know which food I brought and that is the only food I will be eating in case the rest of it is poisoned. And Lisa goes, I have mine as well. Lisa's like, I have not put poison in my food as well. So you're good to eat my food. Then all of a sudden, Brittany is there. Brittany is here, folks. This Brittany Bateman, she is on one. Do you guys follow her on social media? This lady, talk about having wicked fever. She is... this Brittany, really recommend following her, making a lot of videos, doing the most. We like to see the housewives doing this, but sometimes with certain housewives, I'm like, is she okay? Is this a bit or is she on 10 all the time? Like, she was in really bad green face makeup, like a Felba in Wicked, and she was like, oh, when you've been singing like Defying Gravity all over Vegas. It looked like she was by herself just singing out on the Vegas streets. She was going into like fancy stores and like Louis Vuitton. I'm worried about Brittany, but at the same time, I love her dearly. There's a lot happening with Brittany. I don't know, man. I want to see where it goes. There's just a lot happening, and I worry for her. I need to know more about her. I think she's a star, but in a very different way than, say, Bronwyn. Anyway, she pulls out, and Heather's like, hey, camper number one, you look so good. All right. Welcome to girls' camp. Then Bronwyn, Lisa, and Meredith show up, and Bronwyn's like, it's Troop Beverly Hills, bitch. Proof, biatch. Anyways, Whitney's like, I was like, who are those cute campers? All right. And Lisa's like, oh my God, I brought ice cream too. And it's like special ice cream. She keeps saying special ice cream, but we never know why the ice cream is special. Like, what is special? I just keep that, what is special about this damn ice cream? She never says, but like she's eating it later. And I'm like, what is the special ice cream that Lisa brought? We'll never know. Anyways, you see a bunch of like little like lounge, little camping chairs set up. And when he's like, we have a table for you to set stuff down. All right. And Mary's like, I love it. All right. And Bronwyn's like, thank you for understanding my reference, Heather. Troop Beverly Hills. Wow. In a talking head, Heather goes, I am not sold on Bronwyn, but I definitely want to create a space where I can get to know her better. She's holding space for Bronwyn, you guys. Anyways, Maylee, Whitney's friend, she's like, hey, I'm Maylee. Everybody's like, who? Maylee, I'm Maylee. I've been in a couple episodes. So she pulls up, and Heather continues in her talking head, Girl Scouts don't break their promises. And then she does the Girl Scout 3 fingers up salute thing that they do. And she goes, I don't know if this is the Girl Scout sign, but it feels right. Once again, she knows it's the Girl Scout sign, just all lies. Anyways, Whitney goes, does anyone know how to light a fire? Just curious. And Meredith goes, I mean, I could try. Okay, Heather, Meredith wants to learn how to light a fire. And Meredith goes, well, for starters, I have this. And she pulls out a big lighter. And now they're trying to light this wood. And Heather's like, Meredith, that is not going to work, but you can try. You have to build a teepee so that the air can get in. I feel like this is like something they'll flash back to eventually because Heather's going to burn down somebody's house and they'll be like, who amongst these ladies knows how to start a fire? And then they'll flash back to the scene of like, you've got to build a teepee. And the fire Salt Lake inspector is going to be like, we saw this started with a teepee like fire. Like, it's going to cut back to this scene. And Heather keeps going, then under here where it's protected from the wind, you're going to pull all of your tinder, right? And your kindling. And Mary's like, better, okay. And Heather in the talking head goes, did you not have a bonfire? Not like one time? No Chicago Girl Scouts? I mean, who lights the candles for Shabbat? Meredith in the talking head goes, I mean, I think there should be a merit badge for lighting a fire in Burberry. Anyways, Heather goes, Meredith lit her first fire, everybody. And then all of a sudden, Angie and Mary Cosby pulls up. Tense music is playing. And Lisa goes, oh my God, you guys, Mary's here. Oh my God. Didn't they know she was coming? And Meredith turns to Lisa, I guess an hour late is the norm these days. Woo-wee! Tense music playing. Lisa's eating her special ice cream. We cut to commercial. We come back from break. And Mary Cosby goes, look how cute. Interesting. All right. Okay. And Angie's like, hi, ladies. And Heather's like, welcome to camp. We are so happy to have you. Oh my goodness. I didn't catch the whole theme, Angie says. Oh. And we see the potluck station, which looks like some pasta salad, a big sub, I think. I don't know. And Meredith is just clocking everything. And all of a sudden, Heather and Whitney pull out their whistles. And Heather's like, welcome to girls camp. And they're like, woo, we have a lot of fun activities for you today. First of, we have a few little items at your station to go over. Everyone has a whistle. This is very important for Girl Scout safety. If you are in a predicament, then you need help getting out and blow your whistle, okay? And Maylee's like, too much drama, and blows on the whistle. And they're like, who are you? I'm Maylee. And Meredith goes, I need the whistle at all times. Yeah, bring the whistle into our lovemaking sessions, Meredith. That will spice things up. When it gets too hot, you blow the whistle. Oh, it's too hot immediately. I'm Seth Marks in Columbus, Ohio, baby. Anyways, Heather goes, everyone has been gifted a crown, right? Okay. If you need, and then when he goes, if you need to go potty, it is over there. We dug a hole. And they're like, what? What? Like, imagine Lisa Barlow squatting. I am squatting over a hole to do my dookie. Number 2, Lisa Barlow. Oh my God. Whitney, I am digging a hole for the housewives to pee in. This is crazy. Now, all I can think about is like, this should be a historical landmark. I feel like Cody from Sister Wives should like buy this territory or something like that. I mean, that's hallowed ground now. I mean, isn't that like some kind of lore if a housewife pees on like soil, like something crazy happens? I'm probably just making that up. Lisa goes, I will not be eating and I will not be pottying. And Bronwyn's like, I'm done drinking for the night. And Meredith goes, our holy ground is our only toilet? And then Lisa goes, Brittany, I saw you on Instagram with Jared Osmond. And Maylee's like, he is now in all of your stories, Brittany. And Lisa goes, I love he is trying to wow Brittany with Donnie. And we see all of a sudden Brittany Bateman in a photo with Donnie Big Dong Osmond in Vegas. And Lisa's like, oh my God, he literally brought in Donnie as backup. And he's like, here's Donnie. And Donnie is so cute. If you were dating Donnie, Brittany, I'd be so happy. And Brittany's like, oh my gosh, you guys, like, stop, but keep going. Oh my God. And Bronwyn's like, she is not dating Donnie. She's just getting as close as she can. And Brittany's like, oh my gosh, that is not true. And Lisa's like, no, Brittany, we're teasing. We're teasing. And Whitney's like, so Vegas was good? You saw the Donnie show? Vegas was awesome. Like, he said that he really, really loves me and he could see this going somewhere. And it was just really solid. And Mary Cosby goes, Donnie? Donnie said that? Donnie said? Donnie? And they're like, no, Donnie's married, Lisa says. Brittany says, I feel like Jared and I are just doing better than ever. In a talking head, the producer goes, Brittany, I'm going to assume that you guys are going to get back together. And Brittany's like, oh my gosh, I can't, Lori. Lori's the producer of Salt Lake. Heaven help me. I've got to move on. I mean, but he's darling and it's this hamster wheel. We just can't seem to stay broken up. She tells the ladies at the camp thing. I mean, honestly, I don't care what he's doing when we're broken up because I was dating 10 guys. I can't be like, they're like 10. And he's like, yeah, I was juggling 10 guys. I was seriously dating 3. I can date BYU style, Brigham Young University style, you guys, which means that you can just kiss at the end of the date. Thank you very much. I was dating BYU style. And then Heather goes, then all she's doing is soaking and docking. And Brittany's like, I am not soaking and docking. And this is where you guys, for old school listeners of So Bad It's Good, remember me and Sophie every week we would talk about soaking? This was years ago. We would talk about soaking all the time. Now, I don't think Heather listens to the show anymore, but and soaking, obviously, a very popular thing among Mormons. You know, there's a lot of lore there, a lot of mystery if this exists, soaking or not. But Heather brings this up multiple times this episode. So soaking is now part of the public discourse. So congratulations, everybody. And Lisa goes, I didn't even know that was a thing. Sure, Lisa. Dude, you know John Barlow loves to soak. Anyways, Brittany's like, no, honor code dating. And Heather's like, nothing below the Mason-Dixon line. And then Heather in a talking head, and by the way, just prep yourself for this. Heather's like, start here. 4th of July, you take your bun, you separate it, and you go over, and they place the dog in the bun. Soaking is penetration without motion, but you cannot move. Because if you move whilst in the middle of a soak, it becomes sex, which becomes outlawed. The producer goes, explain why putting a penis in a vagina and not moving is not sex. And Heather goes, well, I can't explain that. Only the good Lord can. Every one of Heather's lines seems like like trying to be the marvelous Miss Maisel, you know? It's like, hey, I don't know, but oh my gosh, my Siri just got activated. I don't know. So they keep going. Heather goes, but does Heather smoke? She has like a smoker's voice in this. She goes, but if you were to tell that to your religious leader, they would say, was there thrusting? Was there an orgasm? Was there pumping? Was there orgasm? And you could say, no, no, no. And they'd say, go with God, my child. You are still pure. Which, I mean, these elders at the church, I mean, these are the conversations they're having. We'll find out in Heather Gay's new book that comes out this month, right? She has her second book coming out this month, the sequel to Bad Mormon, which we'll talk about towards the end of this episode because you're already getting some revelations from the book, which are little things from the book that it's meant to titillate and sell the book. But, you know, anyways. So they're back at the camp and Mary's like, I'm bored. Can we do something? And Heather goes, you're not going to be bored now, Miss Mary Cosby, because we're about to play what I believe is one of your favorite games of all time. It's called Potato Sack Race. And Mary's like, okay. And then Heather in a talking head goes, my great-great-grandfather Will and Whitney's great-great-grandfather William Robinson brought potatoes in burlaps from England solely for the purpose of teaching his grandchildren how to potato sack race. You can thank the Mormon pioneers for that. And then it flashes up, not a true story on the talking head. Oh, another lie from Heather Gay, full of lies. Did you see how much she sold that one? The producers had to stamp a not a true story on there. Anyways, they're trying to teach each other how to do this potato sack race. And Heather's like, I'm not going to give away any tips because I'm a potato sack competitor. In a talking head, Heather goes, potato sacks and polygamy. Those are our two great claims to fame. And the Osmonds, that's three. So they divide themselves into two teams, Lisa, Angie, Brittany on Heather's team, and then Mary, Meredith, Bronwyn on Whitney's team. And Heather's like, you hop along like this. She's hopping in the potato sack, right? And Meredith's trying. She's like, I'm practicing. I'm hopping up and down, practicing. Yeah, that's right. This is what you do, Meredith. You hop up. I'm getting turned on. Pull out your whistle. Yeah. And then Heather goes, and then you high-five your teammate, and then they hop back, okay? That's the relay race here. So we see the ladies getting into their potato sacks. Intense race music is playing. Maylee's like, on your mark. Get set. Go. And Brittany just goes. She's already hopping in this potato sack. She's hopping like Jared Osmond's love is dependent on her winning. Immediately tags in Heather. Heather's team is killing it. Mary is barely hopping. She's trying the best she can. Meredith hopping like a pro. Lisa's just kind of like walking and she's like, I can't hop. I will literally pee my pants. My pelvic floor is shot. And Angie's like, squeeze it, Kegels, Kegels, Kegels. They're all cheersing, clapping. Whitney's really hopping her ass off. Team Heather wins, right? Because Angie brings it home. Whitney goes, I didn't pick Mary because she's the fastest. I picked Mary because she's the most loyal and committed. And she surely was committed to going slow and costing us our win. Ha ha ha. Ha ha. They rewind the footage and we see Mary do the instant replay of her just kind of slowly walking. And when he's like, some of us work out more than others. I can just see Mary watching this episode and going, fuck you, bobblehead. Come on. Heather goes, great job on the race. Now it's time to reward ourselves with some food. Okay, so go grab a plate, help yourself to all the side dishes and come sit around the campfire and we'll eat. The caviar, Meredith goes, oh, the caviar's in with the ice cream, okay? Oh yeah, caviar and ice cream. And Angie's like, I don't want to sit with anyone who's eating the beans. That's all I know. We've got meats and ribs and baked beans, Heather says, potato salad, ice cream, and crumble cookie. There's so much food to eat. Angie says, I want to make sure everyone tries my little Greek flag number, right? And they're like, what is that? Well, if you notice, Angie said there was a little olive branch on it. And Maylee goes, that's rosemary, actually. Maylee having the line of the episode, that's rosemary. That's not an olive. It's not an olive branch, right? Angie says, hopefully today we can just sit and enjoy each other's company. And everybody's like, okay, yeah. It's just kind of silent. Mary is just devouring these chips. Like, and Angie's like, right, Mary? Whitney's laughing. And Heather goes, Whitney and I were talking about what our biggest memories were about girls' camp. And like, I'm totally curious about what you guys have. And Brittany's like, my favorite memory, it just came back to me, was like the second day before the testimony. You go up in the wilderness by yourself. I don't even know how they let us do this. And Lisa's like, I never did that. And Millie's like, you're 12? And Brittany's like, yeah, you go up there with a little sack lunch and you write in your journal. And Heather's like, you're closest to God. Yeah. And Angie's like, so are you still a practicing Mormon, Brittany, or was that just in your childhood? And Brittany's like, me? No, I'm practicing. And Angie's like, so like, did your bishop know that you drink? I'm always curious. And Brittany's like, yeah, he does. The bishop totally knows. And Angie's like, well, in my religion, it's not against our religion to drink. Obviously, we take communion, we drink wine on Sundays. I'm not going to lie. I was super taken aback the other day when you got upset at me for bringing a bottle of wine, but you're drinking now. Brittany goes, I thought it was odd, and I felt like you just did it just for show. I mean, that's so weird. Bringing a bottle of wine, you just did it for show. Yeah, most people bring wine as a nice token, but it's also a little bit of a show. But no, it's totally normal. And Brittany's like, well, I wasn't meaning to shame you, Angie. I just, in the moment, I just thought, oh, that's odd. But it also seems like Brittany drinks a lot. And if you watch her, Instagram videos, it seems like she's had a couple in a lot of these videos. And Brittany's like, well, I was just asking, why would she do that? And Angie's like, well, I thought it was odd that you pointed out at like a public event and then later thanked me with the text and told me how beautiful the wine was. And all of a sudden we get a screenshot of the text from Brittany to Angie saying, by the way, that wine was so delicious. Jared and I drank it the other night. Thank you again so much. You're so cute. That was actually really thoughtful. I love that Jared and I drank it the other night with the subtext being, and then we soaked all night long. We soaked. We put the hot dog in the bun with no thrusting action at all. I love like, oh, this is great wine. Thank Angie for me. Well, this is perfect wine to have charcutes with. Charcuterie, all right. And she's like, it's like mixed messages. So I'm not sure, like, do I offer you wine when you come to my house? And Mary Cosby just plainly states two-face. It's the whole thing. It's a two-face. It's a two-face. It's two-face. But Mary calls it out. I think a two-face. It's two-face. And Meredith goes, I don't think it was meant to be like shaming or critical. They all are wearing the crowns now, and the crowns have these little flames with marshmallows in between the flames on their head, so they look completely ridiculous, but they're having a serious conversation. The beauty of Salt Lake City. I think he was just trying to see how she felt, and it didn't feel good. And Mary calmly says, it's two faces. It's two faces. And Lisa's like, I don't feel like that's two-face. And Mary's like, well, why don't we just refer back to manners and etiquette? And Countess Luann's like, did somebody call? Money can't buy you class. Money can't buy you class. Elegance is learned, my friends. But Mary's like, yeah, let's refer back. Mary goes, just like I feel like Meredith, you walking out of my house was very rude. Tense music plays. Lisa Barlow has a zoinks face. Zoinks? What? Mary Cosby immediately, like, you almost feel like a producer is like, Mary, just let it rip. You know, she's like, Meredith, you walking out of my house was very rude, very offensive. And Brittany goes, oh, and you asking people to leave? Brittany tries to hop in. And Mary goes, I'm not talking to you. Shut up, Brittany. Shut up. And Brittany's like, what? Oh my gosh. And Meredith goes, that's not manners. Mary goes, I do know manners. And I do know etiquette. You walking out of my house, you asked me to leave, and I did not feel welcomed. And I was upset, and I will leave. I didn't ask you to leave, Meredith. Pause. I was talking to both of you, you and Angie. I wasn't just talking to you. Angie was screaming, you were screaming. And I was telling both of you to be quiet. If you can't be quiet, you can leave. And we flash back to that of, Angie, stop. Meredith, stop. And Angie's like, you're miserable, Meredith. You're miserable. And Mary going, if you're not going to listen to me, Angie, she screams, Angie, Meredith, you're not going to listen to me. Get out of my house. And Meredith going, I will. And we flash back to those damn bangs again. I can't pay attention to anything else. Mary in this scene goes, Meredith, so you didn't find that rude? Meredith puts back on her crown and goes, no, I didn't. Do not. And Angie goes, but you two have a history. I mean, that really was wrong. You not only walked out, you took the fucking parting gift. I mean, I'm surprised you didn't give the, you didn't grab the Ladro on your way out. Meredith goes, and Bronwyn's like, not a Ladro. Meredith goes, I'm more than happy to return the notebook. I'm just going to take it off my website that I was selling it on. But, you know, I'll give it back if you don't want me to have it. I grabbed my stuff and it was there. That's not the point, Meredith. It's not the point. If you don't want to address it, Mary says, if you think you were right for doing what you did, then we'll just leave it like that. And when he goes, like, yeah, Meredith is a grudge holder for sure. Meredith's like, shut up, Alibaba. She's playing the fucking Lisa game is what's happening. Lisa goes, don't lie. Don't lie. Heather, why don't you ask Bronwyn what she says about you? You lie so badly, Whitney. And Whitney turns to Bronwyn, what did I say about Heather? And Bronwyn's like, I was a little surprised you guys were doing the event together today. Heather makes this face like, I'm putting a hot dog in a bun. And Whitney's like, based off what? And Lisa goes, your words? And Bronwyn's like, yeah. And Heather goes, what does Whitney say about me, Bronwyn? Well, she thinks you won't have her back because you'd rather be friends with Lisa. That's what she said. And Whitney goes, I will tell you exactly what I said. I said, you trying to stay good with Lisa, Heather, when Angie and I had problems with her at the time. That was costing a little bit of strain on our relationship. And Heather goes, yeah, I mean, that's hurt feelings. I don't think that's really deeply offensive. I think she's always felt like that. It's in a talking head. Whitney goes, it's frustrating and hurtful because I, of everyone in the group, gave Bronwyn a chance. But if you are going to throw us under the bus, we're going to back it up. And then we hear a horn honk and run you over. I love it. When he's like, we will kill you if that happens. And Angie goes, well, that's like when you said, can anyone ever really be friends with Lisa? You said that on the walk, Bronwyn. And Bronwyn's like, that's not true. You two told me stuff about Lisa. And I said, I don't know that version of Lisa. And Angie's like, okay, let's just get it all out. And Bronwyn's like, you told me that Lisa has fucked you both over and it was going to happen to me. It wasn't a private, and you guys wanted to talk. Let me speak, Bronwyn says, because Angie keeps trying to interrupt. And Angie's like, I said fucked me over. I said fucked me over. Did I say Lisa fucked me over, Whitney? And Whitney shakes her head no. And then Angie goes, borrow Meredith's hearing aids, turn them up and hear me one more time. And Bronwyn's like, I don't need Meredith's hearing aids. I got two right here. And she points to her ears and goes, let's go, Ange. Meredith, finally hearing this conversation, goes, wow, that's kind of offensive. It's very ableist. You're making fun of my hearing. Wow. That's what I very, wow. Okay, you're making fun of my hearings. This is very, so we make fun of impairments now. We make fun of impairments now. Wow. Heather just like laughing, going, Bronwyn's like, this is what was said, word for word. You two repeatedly come for people. That's what they say about you, Lisa. I would see, and I said, I don't think I will see. We flash back to that scene where Whitney is telling Bronwyn, Lisa, unfortunately, is the type of person that hurts other people to make herself feel better. She's not on a healing journey. That has been my experience from day one with you. She will piss on your grave. And Angie's saying she can go from loving you to like wanting to take you out. And Bronwyn in the scene goes, I hear both of you. And I'm sad that that's what's happened. I just can't say right now I've ever seen that. In the scene, Lisa goes, you won't see that. You won't see that. You will not see that ever. No way. You're lying right now. And Whitney goes, I am not. And Whitney goes, do not fucking call me a liar. And she points at Lisa. And Lisa's like, that is a lie, Whitney. Don't lie. And Mary goes, but it is true. But it is true. Pause. Everybody's looking around. And Lisa goes, it is not true. And Mary goes, it is true. And Lisa goes, Mary, you're not around me enough. Don't make judgment calls. I don't judge you. And Mary goes, you're just a game is what you are. You're just Monopoly is what you are. You're Chutes and Ladders is what you are. And then Lisa goes, I'm a game? You don't know me. And Mary goes, and you do mess with people, Lisa. And you talk behind people's backs all the time. And Lisa goes, oh, and she's laughing. She goes, oh. And then Mary stomps on her again. She goes, you're the fakest person I think I've ever seen in my life. And then Lisa goes, Mary, you're the fakest person. And Mary goes, everything that comes out of your mouth is a lie, Lisa. And then Mary goes, I have a Milan specialist. And then we flash back to Lisa Barlow in Palm Springs last year going, I'm in a bathing suit going to a 5-star restaurant. Weird. I prepared for this trip. Like my shopper in Milan sent all these beautiful things to me. And then in the scene, she tells Mary Cosme, I do have a Milan specialist. Do you need to call them? And Mary's like, who? Her name is Danny. She lives in Canada. There's no record of her anywhere. Just leave it alone. Her name is Danny. And Mary's like, oh, and what store does she come from? And Lisa goes, oh, you're upset that I have the same Fendi jumpsuit and I got mine from Fendi. I didn't have to get it. And Mary's like, you wore my outfit. And we flash back to the brunch last episode, which comes in the Tiffany blue jumpsuit from Fendi, right? And Mary was like, oh. And Bronwyn goes, I think the Fendi jumpsuit is some bitch eating crackers. Mary just doesn't really like Lisa right now. And so she's like, I wore it first. I wore it best. I wore it on TV and you wore it to walk around my house, which honestly, top tier shade, Mary. I'm here for it. I do love the way Bronwyn gives good talking head, man. She's really good in those talking heads. Lisa's going, she's so funny, Mary. Ha ha ha. And Mary's like, you copied me. No, Mary, No, I didn't. I did not copy you. I was at the show, Mary. And Mary goes, you copycatter. Go be original, Lisa. Girl, bye. You're a hot mess. And Lisa goes, okay, Mary, looking totally unbothered. And Mary's like, get your hot mess together. Meredith and Whitney are looking at each other laughing. And Meredith turns to Whitney going, I can turn off my hearing aids. Well, stop making fun of your own hearing aids, Meredith. But I do wonder how often she does turn off those hearing aids. Lisa goes, you were at the show. I was at front row. I was by Kim Kardashian and Sarah Jessica Parker. You weren't even there, Mary. And Mary's like, anyone can be fake like you. And then Mary all of a sudden go, I think Meredith's crazy, girl. You said she slept with half of New York, Lisa, and she's the biggest whore, and she's still your friend? And Lisa goes, do you love Meredith? They always go back to this. This is the only thing they've got. And Mary's like, get your hot mess together. It's the only thing they got, but it's a damn pretty good thing. Like, Lisa Barlow saying that shit, I still want to remind people, that was an insane thing. You know, listen to this. Oh, that's... I have the audio here somewhere. I guess we don't need to... Oh, here it is.
Can go f*** herself. I'm done with her. Because I'm not a f***ing whore and I don't cheat on my husband. Her and her dumb family that poses. Why don't you own a house? Wait, you can't. Because your husband changes jobs every 5 minutes? Fake Meredith is a piece of I have your back and I'm offended by that. You that f***ing piece of garbage whore. I f***ing hate her. She's a whore. She's half of New York.
So that's what Mary Cosby is referring to and saying, get your hot mess together, Lisa. Come on. Get yours together too, Meredith. And Lisa goes, Mary, formulate your opinions with your own brain. Don't use other people to create your opinions. And then Mary's like, go jump in that lake over there. That's what you do. So Mary Cosby, she has the good sayings, but they don't always come together. It's like, she's like, go jump in that lake. That's what you do. And I don't think we've ever seen Lisa fully jump in a lake, but I get the point. And Lisa goes, this doesn't even mean anything to me. She's not even looking at Mary. She's like, keep talking. And Mary's like, you keep talking. No, you keep talking. No, you keep talking, Lisa. No, you keep talking, Mary. Just fucking keep talking. And Mary's like, you can't shut me up. And Lisa's like, keep talking, Mary, so everyone see what I'm fucking. And then Mary goes, you little dingbat. And then Meredith all of a sudden blows her whistle. And she's like, my hearing aids. Ow, ow. Ooh, oh gosh. Ow. We cut to commercial. We come back. These ladies are still fighting. We hear the whistle again. And we're like, uh-oh, where's it going to go from here? Mary in a talking head goes, I don't have time for this. I don't have time for people starting fights with me and making me really angry when I'm already, on the edge. I feel like I have a lot going on right now with my child. And right now, I'm going to tell you, right now, Lisa Barlow does not matter. And she's crying in the talking head. And, I understand, but you can tell it does affect Mary. But Mary has this tough front, no, this ain't getting to me. Fuck that. Fuck her. Anyways, Whitney's like, I think we need to chill for a second. Everyone take a deep breath. And Heather's like, go to the wilderness with your journal for about 8 hours. Everyone take a minute, please. And then speak clearly and one at a time. Meredith goes, okay, I'll go. I find making fun or light of any disability, whether it's my hearing or my horrible bangs, to be wrong. Okay? And I find it highly offensive, period. And Angie goes, I wasn't talking about your hearing. Well, you said Meredith's hearing aid. That's me. And we flash back to her saying, borrow Meredith's hearing aids. Yeah. And Angie goes, well, she does need hearing aids. Bronwyn says, everybody wants to be all over me all the time for what I said, taking accountability. And Angie's like, nobody's all over you, Bronwyn. Yes, they are. There's a ton of discussion about whether or not I am truthful, whether I'm two-faced. And Angie's like, have I been all over you? Have I been all over you? Well, have I? And they're like, it's what you said, Angie. This is such bullshit on the heels of what just happened. And Angie's like, everybody shut the fuck up except Lisa and Mary, Angie says. And you should shut the fuck up too, because this had nothing to do with you, Bronwyn. And Bronwyn just shaking her head like, oh, okay. And then Bronwyn goes, this is some bullshit. It really is some absolute fucking bullshit. And then Meredith gets up and goes, this is enough. Angie can talk. Everybody can shut the fuck up. And Angie's like, no, I'm not talking, Meredith. Bronwyn said on the heels of that conversation. And Bronwyn says, Angie, I have shut the fuck up. Don't keep yelling at me. Already shut my fucking mouth. And he's like, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to Meredith. And Meredith goes, I'm not listening. So keep talking. I'm not even, is that the wind? I can't even hear. I don't even know. And then Bronwyn goes, Angie, say shut the fuck up one more time to me and you will never fucking see me again. And she's like, Bronwyn, I've been nothing but nice to you. And Bronwyn's like, say it, Ange. Do it. And they're like, bye, Bronwyn. And then Brittany gets up and goes, well, that was fun. And Mary Cosby, still in the chair, goes, I should have never left my house. And then Heather goes, this never happened at girls' camp growing up. In a talking head, Heather goes, this is terrible, fake acting like she cares. I wanted to bring everybody together, and now I feel like everybody's driven further apart. What is this, a Housewives show? And we hear Bronwyn telling Whitney, this is too fucking far. Mary Cosby just shaking her head. Angie looking distraught. All of a sudden we hear choral music. Ah, ah, ah. We see the cloudy hills of Salt Lake. The sun goes down. The sun comes up. Upbeat music playing. Dun, 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 dun. And we're at Meredith's Airbnb. And there's a chef there going, does this big piece of meat work for you, Mrs. Marks? Oh, yes. Yes, Queen. Yes. Heather K walks in, bringing a bottle of wine, kind of like Angie K with Brittany. And Meredith goes, oh my gosh, Heather, you look gorgeous. And Heather's like, you look gorgeous. And then Seth is there going, you both look gorgeous. Shabbat shalom. All right. Meredith in a talking head goes, after our day at camping, I now know why they call it roughing it. It was a very rough day, and I'm excited to have my smaller group of friends over for Shabbat, to have a lovely, peaceful dinner for once. So Heather is hugging Brooks, and all of a sudden we see Seth totally checking out Heather Gay from behind. Like, I literally freeze. Like, the subtext there is like, oh my God, what am I Hey, little bump in the drum. All right, yeah, I'm liking what I'm seeing, Heather Gay. So they're going to have this peaceful Shabbat dinner, you know. The dishes are getting set out, the appetizers. Brittany is there, and guess who she's with? Jared motherfucking Osmond, the smoothest guy in Salt Lake. Hey, thanks for having me to your Shabbat dinner. I'm Mormon. All right, okay. Brittany's like, oh my God, thank you so much for having us. Oh my God. Meredith hugs Jared. He's like, hi. Brittany meets Seth. He goes, hey, I'm Seth. How you doing? All right. Nice to meet you, Brittany. Nice to meet you guys, Jared. And Brittany's like, what a beautiful place. Yeah, thank you. It's our Airbnb. All right. Okay. Brooks is taking something out of the stove, I think the challah bread, and then all of a sudden, we see Bronwyn and her husband, the gruffster in the world. So Todd is there with Bronwyn, and Meredith goes, oh my God, look who it is. All right. And Bronwyn's like, we've dressed up for Shabbat. I Googled it, and I read all about Shabbat. And Meredith's like, how chic. Mwah, mwah, kiss, kiss. Shabbat Shalom. All right. So Bronwyn sees Brittany and goes, this is Todd, Brittany. Todd, this is Brittany. And Todd's like, hello, hello. And Brittany's like, I've heard almost nothing about you. Remember, Brittany's the one that had this conversation about, you know, making sure you have a prenup and old and all of this shit, right? So it's really embarrassing for Brittany. And Brittany's like, it is very lovely to meet you. And Todd has his hands behind his back, just kind of like, where the fuck am I? I would rather be doing business. And Bronwyn's like, my butthole is so clenched. And Heather is talking to Chloe, Meredith's daughter, going, oh, this is Bronwyn and her husband, Alan. So Heather keeps calling Todd Alan. Brittany goes, this isn't awkward or anything. And Bronwyn's like, super awkward. And now Seth has pulled Jared Osmond to the side. Now this is just a meeting of the minds here. And Seth is like, Jews drink and are encouraged to have wine to celebrate life, Jared. And Jared's like, right. And, and he's like, the Mormons are like shunned that, shunned if they do that. And Jared's like, yeah, well, and Seth's like, well, that's a flaw in the business model, And then Chloe to Heather and Brooks, Chloe's like, wait, so did you go on a mission and then go to BYU, Heather? And Heather's like, I graduated from BYU and then I went on a mission. And then Chloe goes, do you know what soaking is, Brooks? And Brooks is like, of course. No. Brooks is like, yeah, I've heard that's a myth, though. And Heather goes, it's not a myth. Oh, God. And then Heather goes, jump humping is a myth. And Chloe's like, what the hell is jump humping? And Brooks is like, there's a new one. And then Heather, 50 Shades of, Heather Gay says, jump humping is when you're docking or soaking and someone jumps on the bed. So there's the motion, it creates the friction, you guys, without you doing anything. And Heather's like, soaking is just soaking. So there's a jump humper is the person that jumps on the bed to create the friction. So you're not actually doing it. Your friend is jumping on the bed so the two of you can get down without, cheating on God. And Brooks is like, oh, so it's not moving. Yeah. And Heather's like, yeah, it's like a dog in a bun, like a hot dog in a bun. Ooh, I'm going to Ralph. And Chloe's like, that sounds terrible. And Heather in the talking head goes, when you add a third party to jump to create motion without you physically moving your body parts yourself, that is called jump humping. And that is something that I've never really heard or seen or participated in. And then she pauses and goes, but I've hot dogged and I've soaked. I can't, too much. Ugh. I think this was meant to be like hopefully a bigger meme than it turned out to be. So I think we've already moved past the soaking years ago. Heather tells Chloe, let's go meet Bronwyn and her husband, Alan. And Meredith is talking to the people. She's like, we have diamond-shaped coffee ice cubes in the drinks. And Bronwyn's like, hello, Chloe, you look gorgeous. All right, Heather. Yes, hello. Hi. Heather meets Todd/Alan. And Todd goes, nice to meet you. And Heather goes, oh, firm grip. I like a strong handshake. And pats Todd on the shoulder. Like, this is Heather really butters up to the guy. Hey, all right. I like you, buddy. All right. And Bronwyn goes, this is Todd, not Alan. And we flash back to Heather having that scene with Bronwyn a couple episodes ago. And what's your husband's name? Alan? I would say, Alan, you should always have a prenup. And then Heather talking to Seth and Jared going, hey, you guys broing out over here? And Jared's like, yeah, we're broing. Yeah. And Seth's like, yeah, we're broing. Yeah. And Jared's like, I really like this guy. This guy I'd love to have charcuterie with. All right. And now Lisa and John Barlow get there. And Lisa's like, oh my gosh, it looks so pretty in your Airbnb. Oh my God. And Heather goes, oh, John Barlow, we were manifesting you coming. King Soaker. All right. Hi. So everybody's hugging. It's peaceful. And Mary's like, let's all sit down, please. Please sit. Oh, please sit. Have Shabbat with us. Yes. And Heather is at the kids' table with the kids. She's a young soul. And Mary's like, welcome, everyone. Thank you guys for coming. Shabbat Shalom. Everybody's like, Shabbat Shalom. I'm so happy to have everyone in my home, my Airbnb, and joining us for what I feel is a very special Shabbat dinner. Yes. First, we're going to do the blessing and the candles. In a talking head, Meredith goes, as my bar mitzvah is getting closer, I'm really embracing some of these traditions. And yes, and she lights the candles. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Ela Haolam Asher Shana Ashernu Ba'aleto. And she's like, I'm not the most religious person, but I do think that the traditions are the best parts of religion. And I really enjoy sharing this with my friends. The Mormon traditions are soaking and hot dogging, and we've got candles. This is a very special Shabbat because I'm being bat mitzvahed next week. And Brittany's like, oh, and I hope you guys will join us. And Todd is like, I'd love to. All right. And Brittany's like, that's amazing. And Jared's like, do I get more camera time? Amazing. And they're like, mazel. All right. Thank you. And then Jared's like, well, my family was part Jewish, my mother's side. If it's on the mother's side, you're full Jewish, actually, I believe. And Mary goes, I didn't know that, Jared. And Jared's like, my grandfather, all my aunts and uncles, Jewish heritage. You just ruined the Osmonds for everybody. And then Meredith goes, well, John too, by the way, Barlow. He found out he did his DNA. We found his birth. And Lisa's like, yeah, we found his birth mother through Ancestry.com. And then we hired a genealogist to find his dad because we knew who his mom was. And John Barlow goes, when she says we, she means her. And Lisa goes, yeah, no, it caused major problems. And John's like, yeah, there wasn't a we thing. He knew he was taking a DNA test, but he thought it was to find out, like roots and things like that, because he didn't really know that. And then within the day that we got it back, I was like, okay, this is who you're connected to. I started making phone calls and John was traumatized. And Bronwyn's like, this is like a part-time job for you. John, my child, Lisa, you're just everywhere. And Lisa was like, hers was just kismet. It was just kismet. And then Todd, so that's, let's take a, so this gets crazy on top of crazy, because that's crazy right there, because we literally have Lisa Barlow admitting that she kind of like tricked John into doing a DNA test, him thinking it was for one thing, and she went and found his, I think, adopted parents. And if you watch the Salt Lake City after show, the story gets so much crazier, and it seems like John, it really messed him up, because he did not want this, and Lisa just went ahead and did it. Like, you gotta watch this after show. It is so wild. And I just can't believe, I mean, Lisa Barlow is wild. And it just seems like this really bothered John in a big way. He did not ask for this, and Lisa just pushed it. But anyways, now Todd out-crazies this a little bit. He goes, well, I mean, Aunt Strusty's interesting. When Bronwyn and I started dating, I had the NSA do a background check on Bronwyn. The NS fucking A, you guys. NSA. The National Security Administration. Wait, it's big. And Bronwyn's like, it was unnecessary. It's all over the Provo newspaper. Anyone can read it. I got kicked out for very public reasons, Todd. And Heather goes, the room is silent. Todd, you shouldn't have given this information to Heather Gay at all. In a talking head, Heather Gay's full background check. Oh my God, I wish I had this back in season 1. And Heather goes, that is not the thing of fairy tales that a girl dreams to hear about or to be announced to her friends. Lisa Barlow literally just said against John's will, she went and found his birth parents. Like, that's, to me, even more insane. This dude is a rich dude. Of course he's going to have bigwig friends check people out. Good on him. You know, wants to make sure everything is on the up and up. Right? Heather goes, I mean, maybe a cursory Google search, sir. Heather's done many of those on her castmates. Anyways, Heather goes, well, I hope the BYU expulsion came up. And Bron was like, it did. And Todd's like, yeah, it did. All of it. It all came out. It all came out. And then Lisa goes, what did you guys do today? What did you do today? And Heather goes, cried into my pillow after my camping failure yesterday. Lisa goes, we really wrecked it. And Heather goes, it was pretty intense. It ended like so badly. And Bron was like, did it? Oops. And she laughs. And Bron was like, there was some real cutting shit that was said yesterday, but here's how I see it. Angie got real feisty with me because I was saying something she didn't want the two of you to hear me say, right? So this is where I was saying Bronwyn is kind of now trying to ingratiate more with the Lisas, trying to make that reach across the aisle to Heather. And I just hope this plays out in Bronwyn's favor, but I just think Bronwyn was already on such a good path standing on her own 2 feet, but, you know, it's like chess. Heather goes, Bronwyn, I totally understand, but I feel like it's normal and natural for friends to talk a little shit behind each other's back. Pick a lane, Heather. Is it or isn't it? You said at the beginning of the episode it wasn't, and now it's totally normal. Then Heather goes, but why throw them under the bus now? So questioning Bronwyn on why throw Angie and Whitney under the bus. And Bronwyn's like, well, I think there's a place where you vent to a friend, right? And look, at some point, everyone talks about everybody. When you're in a good place with them, it's funny and it's cheeky and sassy. And when you're not in a good place, it's offensive and hurtful, right? Brittany's like, sure. And Bronwyn's like, look, I mean, I'm not mistake-free. I'm not. Oh, yeah, I can be a real snarky bitch for sure. And then Todd, literally leans his head to her and he goes, don't say that. The NSA is listening. Don't say that. And Heather clocks this as well. She said snarky bitch. He goes, don't say that. Don't say that. We cut to commercial. And we come back. We play that scene again. Don't say that. Don't say that. Don't say that. And Bronwyn's like, but at some point, you guys will realize whether people like what I say or not. It's not ever been untrue, what I've said. Right? Yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. There's a pause. And then Lisa goes, I mean, did you leave feeling happy about camping? Because I didn't. And Meredith goes, I left. I couldn't even hear. And Bronwyn's like, I will never camp again. I was very offended. Heather goes, that was crazy. And Lisa goes, Mary crossed a line yesterday. You can't even keep up with this cast who's crossing lines and who isn't. I don't like the way she's been treating you either, Meredith. And Meredith goes, with everything with Mary, I'm really upset. I really am. I don't know where things will end. And we hear this soft piano music playing in the background. And, I don't know what to say. I stood behind her. I supported her. But now I'm seeing a side that I didn't really know. Somber music playing, you guys. And that's sad to me. I'm worried. Her behavior is very unusual. It's not in character. It makes me wonder, like, is there like some bigger problem going on here? And they're all kind of looking down at their plates because they all know what the problem is and nobody's saying it. And then Brittany goes, I do think that Meredith does bring up a good point, that maybe we need to give Mary a little bit of grace. Maybe she does have something wrong. Silence. Heather's hands are on her head, like shaking her head, like, no. They all know what it is. Say it. And we end that scene. And then we see the full moon in Salt Lake. All of a sudden, it's the next day. Clouds are moving fast. Church bell tolls. Very ominous. We see a children's playground. We hear faint sounds of children's laughter. We see kids riding on their bike. We see a fallen scooter with the wheels still turning. Really heavy-handed here. And then we go to Mary's front door. We see the orchids in Mary's foyer. All of a sudden, we see the Robert Jr. wood lettering above his door, and we hear Mary go, Bubs. And the door creaks open. Bubs. Door creaks open. Here we go, folks. Final scene. Okay, so if you don't watch this show, this last scene is going to deal with Robert Jr.'s drug use, his addiction. If that is triggering for you, maybe skip this scene, but I think it's a really, really important conversation. And I think they do it in a very honest, brave way. So Mary comes into Robert Jr.'s room. He is laid up in bed, and she's like, what's up? What's up? And he's like, nothing much, And he's just staring at her. The door clicks shut. And he's like, what about you? And he just kind of slurs all his words. And Mary's like, I don't know. I don't know how I am. And she like sits down and leans on his bed. And she goes, I want to know, how are you? And it says, Robert Jr., 21, Mary's son. And he leans up against the bed frame. And Mary in a talking head goes, Robert was like the perfect child. He was very good in school. He got straight A's all the way up until he graduated. When he set his mind to do something, he did it. He was like our prize. And we see all these photos of them. Very smart, very advanced. That's the Robert I know. And that's the Robert I'm trying to reach, she says. And she looks at him. She goes, what are we doing? What are we doing? You got to be real. You got to talk to me. And he goes, I took a Xanax. So he said, I took a Xanax, which means recently, which means that day. Right? So what they don't tell or talk about on the show is that, and we talked about this many episodes ago, there are many articles out there, if you Google, about Robert Jr.'s issues that he's been having with his drug addiction. And we'll go into a little bit of that now just to have some context for what we're seeing, right? And it is just really brutal. So even before this season started filming, they were dealing with issues. Mary was already well aware of what was happening. This is not the first revelation. This is something they've been dealing with, but for the sake of the show, they are introducing it to the show this way. So I don't feel like it's some trick scene or anything like that. I feel like this is a very honest conversation, but this isn't the first time Mary was hearing this. So this is an article from last year, December 1st, 2023, from the U.S. Sun. And it said, Mary's 21-year-old son, Robert Cosby Jr., has been getting into trouble with the law following his March 2022 driving under the influence arrest. So he was arrested in March of 2022, right? And he could now end up in jail, it said. According to the court docs exclusively obtained by the U.S. Sun, the court issued an arrest warrant on November 21st. That was last year. The warrant was issued immediately after Robert failed to appear for a court hearing for his DUI case scheduled on November 20th of last year. A judge ordered any peace officer in the state of Utah to arrest and deliver the defendant to the Salt Lake County Jail. The warrant can be served anytime, day or night. Once arrested, Robert must appear in court on the next available court date. His bail was set at $2,500 and must be paid in cash. Robert had yet to be arrested at this point. In a statement to the U.S. Sun, Robert's attorney, Clayton Sims, said Robert has accepted responsibility for the mistakes he's made in the past. He embraces all of the requirements of his probation and plans to successfully complete probation. The Salt Lake City Star's only child recently served his second 30-day home confinement term after failing to complete it the first time around. So he already had completed or tried to complete 2 30-day home stays. The Utah native confessed on the show that her son and his wife, Alexiana, Alexiana, are living at her house, but she doesn't see them much since they have their own wings in the 9-bedroom home. Robert initially was on house arrest from April 20th to May 21st, 2023. During this time, police caught him on the run after a 911 call was made on an attempted break-in of a neighbor's apartment. Robert was caught wearing his ankle monitor as he allegedly jumped off the third-story balcony, but ultimately was charged with giving false identity to police. The case has since been dismissed as of September for that case. This was only one of the many unauthorized leaves reported. The summary report of his house arrest, as seen by the U.S. Sun, showed he had nearly 50 unauthorized leaves. Because he was not able to provide sufficient proof to validate any unauthorized leaves, except for noting he was at his wife's house, he did not complete his 30 days of in-home confinement successfully. Under his home confinement orders, he was not allowed to leave his home unless he was seeking treatment, going to work, or getting tested. He served his house arrest again from October 24th to November 22nd, 2023. According to the deactivation report, he remained compliant with the terms and conditions of the SCRAM in-home confinement monitoring program. SCRAM refers to a monitoring device that is worn to test for any alcohol consumption, typically every 30 minutes. Prior to the most recent home confinement, a court progress report noted that Robert was non-compliant. The report claimed he was using cocaine, fentanyl, marijuana, and submitted fake urine samples. We have concerns about his condition during group sessions. He has missed tests, shows use of cocaine, fentanyl, and THC, and prior to starting home confinement on October 25th, 2023, 3 tests came back showing synthetic urine. Then they recommended a higher level of treatment and a minimum of 30 days inpatient with individual treatment, then a return to outpatient with testing. In the September diagnostics report obtained by the U.S. Sun, Robert tested positive for numerous non-prescribed medications. Nicotine and tobacco, cough suppressant, fentanyl, nordiazepam, and oxapam, both commonly used to treat anxiety, and temazepam, commonly used to treat insomnia. The U.S. Sun reported that Robert was arrested for DUI in March 2022 after being caught throwing beer cans into a dumpster behind a local Best Buy. The police noticed that he was not following road rules after leaving the parking lot, such as not signaling to turn right and not staying in one lane while driving on a highway. Robert confessed that he had not been drinking, but stated he had recently in the past taken some Oxycontin, Xanax, and smoked marijuana. After failing the field sobriety test and breathalyzer test, Rob was ultimately charged for driving under the influence of alcohol, improper right turn, blah, blah, blah. Since then, all charges except for DUI have been dismissed. In his sentencing that took place in February after pleading guilty, Robert was placed under probation for 12 months. The judge granted a plea deal of 30 days of home confinement instead of 10 days of jail time. The judge also ordered him to complete 16 substance abuse classes and pay $1,610 fine, which has been since paid for by Mary. During probation, he was ordered no consumption of alcohol, no spice, ivory wave, or items of that nature, and no use of non-prescribed controlled substances, over-the-counter medicine. In recent alleged Instagram posts, Robert and his new wife posted numerous photos with what appears to be marijuana, prescription codeine syrup, and pills. So he was posting Instagrams with like tons of Xanax, all of this stuff. Starcasm posted the photos earlier this month from the couple's Instagram accounts, then both have been deactivated since then. According to the website, Mary's son Instagram account was full of dozens and dozens of photos and videos in which he can be seen with prescription bottles for codeine and promethazine hydrochloride cough syrup and cups of a purple drink being mixed with Sprite and other clear sodas. The Bravo celebrity has not addressed her son's drug use or past arrests. So this is an article from a year ago. She had just learned at this point that Mary had found out that her son was married. We saw that last season. So that was an article from a year ago. So this is really serious stuff, and Mary has been aware of this for a minute. So I'm not sure where we are in terms of, you know, the legality of all of this stuff. I do wonder if part of being on this show is helping his case in some way. But there's a real serious drug addiction here that I think a lot of people face, a lot of young kids especially, but this is really, so that's a little context, right? So Mary, he says, I took a Xanax today. She's like, why? But why? And he goes, I don't know. I didn't sleep last night. And she's like, so you're just going to sleep through the day? Just sleep your whole day away? And he goes, no, I just took half just to chill me out. And then I took an Adderall to balance out the Xanax. So now it gets even darker because now he's taking another pill to get you up so he's not too down. Adderall. And Mary just pauses. And she's like, so Bubs, do you see this as a problem? And he just, he pauses and she's like, are you unhappy? And he's like, no, it is. And he kind of like had this half smile. It's just really sad. He goes, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like, I don't know, just like life is like just chicken unseasoned. And when I get high, it's like adding seasoning to it. And she goes, when did you start? And he goes, when I turned 16. And she shakes her head. And he goes, at first I was like, I'm just going to stick to natural stuff. And then I went to a party and someone gave me Xanax. And then I was like, I like this. And I started buying it. And then I like started doing Xanax with acid. And then Molly was Xanax. Because I really like Xanax, so I mix it with everything. Xanax and cocaine. And she's like, my God. So that's, I mean, Xanax and acid, you guys. Xanax, I mean, he's all of it. And she's crying. And she's like, then he's like, you know, the regular 30 milligram oxycodons. I noticed like this is like a turning point for me. It was like I was taking 10 at once and I couldn't even feel it. I couldn't feel it at all. So he was taking 300 milligrams of Oxycontin and he couldn't feel it. And this is just, I mean, and this is how, if you read about this or have experienced it in your own life, this is exactly what Matthew Perry was going. I mean, your body works up this resistance to it where it needs more and more and more and more. And then you're kicking and you're really sick. And it's so scary. But he's being really honest in this scene. And she goes, oh my God. And there's pause. And they're staring at each other. And he goes, she goes, I won't judge you. She's crying. I can help you. I can try to help you, but you have to help yourself. Because I'm not going to support it. I'm not. You know I'm not. And he goes, yeah. But you do flash back to earlier scenes in this season where he's like, Mom, can you cash at me money for food? Can you cash at me this? And you just get really nervous. And you look around this kid's room. Like I said, there's a full-size fridge. There's all of this shit. Like it just... Anyways, Mary goes, do you accept it's a problem? Do you accept that you're having a problem? And he's kind of like, just pause. And she's crying. She goes, just tell me that. In a talking head, she goes, I just feel very disappointed with myself. I feel like I let him down somewhere. I'm very aware, and I do know that Robert did smoke weed. I do know he would eat edibles, but yet I just trusted him. And my mind thinking that's where he would stop. And I was clearly wrong. I mean, clearly wrong, she says. I missed the mark. She tells him in the scene, you're blessed. You wake up every morning. Every day is a new day, a blessed day to waste, to get high. When God wakes you up every single day, you know how many people didn't wake up today? And he's just looking at her. And she goes, you will die. He will. And he goes, I wanted to die at the time. And she goes, do you know how that would kill me? And he goes, he's mumbling, but he goes, I just felt like a stain. And she's like, huh? I felt like a stain. I just felt like this world wasn't for me. And she goes, if something ever happened to you, do you understand what would happen to me? Like, I don't think I'll be, and he goes, you're the only reason I didn't kill myself. And she's shaking her head in acceptance, but crying. And she goes, thank you, baby. Thank you. And he's now crying. I'm crying. You're crying. And they're just crying. And he's wiping his eyes. And Mary goes, you have to know I love you more than anything in this world. I think I love you more than Dad. Like, don't ever tell Dad I said that. Dad/grandpa, but you know it. And he kind of smiles and he goes, I won't. And she goes, but you're my friend. You're my son. You're my gift. God gave you to me. You're the only thing that ever made me happy. Before I had you, I was never happy, Mary says. You came and you were so real. You was everything I hoped for in a person. And he's crying. He's like, I just barely started being happy. And he's crying. And she holds his arm and smiles at him and says, please, baby, recognize it, own it, and change it. Because you can. Thank you, my lovies. And she's like, come here. And they kind of hug. And he goes, I love you. And she goes, I love you so much. And they're just hugging, crying. And he's like, I love you too. And then we get the coda saying, if you or someone you know is struggling with substance abuse, call the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration helpline, 1-800-662-4357. It's free, confidential, and available 24/7. So that is our final scene, potentially one of the realest scenes that you will see on Real Housewives. And it blew me away. I knew it was coming, and it still blew me away. There's so many questions, right? Where is Robert Sr.? I know he's in Vegas, but why? Why is he not back here to help with the son? What is going on here? It just blows me away. This scene blows me away. I really, Mary said to Andy he said, I talked to Mary Cosby at Bravo Fan Fest. He said, I talked to her. And he said, Robert Jr. is okay or doing okay, which, you never know in a situation like that. But this is really, really serious. And it's an epidemic. It really is. And there are certain aspects of this that we can all relate to, right? I think there's certain elements or times in our life where we feel like life does have no seasoning. I thought that was a very interesting example of like unseasoned chicken. There are times where you just get so lost. And you can get really lost without drugs or alcohol and just in your own thoughts and your own mental state. And then you throw that on to it because it's like a salve. It's like a medicine to almost help you with your pain, and it's really scary though, because that stuff can really take over, and then you can find a whole new misery in your addiction. And then you're just trying to keep from feeling sick. And I'm really scared about this one. And I give Mary a lot of credit. I give him a lot of credit. But at the same time, when you're dealing with addiction, that's not who Robert Jr. is. You really have to separate a lot of these. I will say, I know I keep bringing that up, that Matthew Perry's book, he was so frightened. Another real honest portrayal. And, and he died, less than a year after that book came out. Spoke about it really scary, honestly. And you go down a really dark road. It's really, really scary. So that was I don't know how we pick back up to like silliness, like how do we start making fun of Meredith's hearing aids or Lisa Barlow? I mean, how do you go back to that? And these women do know. I mean, this has been going on for a while. So I wonder if they were told not to bring it up or what, but it doesn't matter. I'm glad that it's out there. I hope there is a scene where Mary can be honest with the ladies, and I hope they shower her with love. And I think all in all, it just provides this show with so much more gravity. That's why I think this is just such an amazing, amazing franchise. I just never thought we would get that scene, especially from Mary. I think, so anyway, I hate to end it like that. In the Pop Culture Roundup tomorrow, I'm going to talk about Heather Gay's book. We'll talk about some other fun stuff, obviously. But that's it. Sorry if this was a little disjointed. I'm still not feeling great. But thanks for hanging in there with me. Thanks for your patience this week. Thank you to my Patreon. Thanks for your patience over there. And I hope I feel better tomorrow. But that was our Salt Lake recap. Man, really. So sad. Tell people you love them. I love you guys. Bye.